With the Butt Kicker Gamer 2, what you see and what you hear is what you feel. Butt Kicker. The future is feeling.
Hey there, I'm Nicholas Dubois, co-founder of Advanced Sim Racing. We are a Canadian company. So what we did here today is for a real petrol head. He's really passionate about cars, as you can see behind me. We did a turnkey solution for him based on his needs. We try to gather as much information as we can on our client, and like we did today, we install a D-box system, we install ultra-wide cube control steering wheel. We try to provide the best quality for your budget. So let's say if you want a budget of 10 grand, we're gonna give you something that's the best for 10 grand. If you want 20 grand, then we always try to stay within your boundaries. We do try to make it as easy as possible. So the client, once we install everything, it's pretty much gonna be a turnkey. So he's gonna press start on his computer, and right after, we'll try to explain everything, how it goes, how it works, and then he's ready to go. Our aluminum is from USA, treated in Canada, cut in Canada. So we do sand all our aluminum piece just to make sure the powder coat sticks to it. And that's one of the reasons why we use powder coat, is to make sure you have the best aluminum finish in the industry. And our quality is beyond what you can get with any other competitors right now. We are really, really passionate about all the gear, all the cockpits, all the sim hardware, and that's why we want to create something that's really gonna reflect our passion into our product. Come visit us at advancedsimracing.com. You can always reach us if you have any questions. You can call us, you can text us, you can go on Facebook, like our page, ask us questions over there, and we'll make sure to answer every questions there is. We are very passionate about what we do, and we try to make it as easier for you to go into the sim racing world, because there's a lot of gear, there's a lot of options, but let us guide you through your process, and let's hope you'll be an Advanced Sim Racing customer.
Good evening and welcome to the Precision Racing League GT3 Fixed and Sprint Series for round 8 of this championship. With only 3 rounds to go, we head back to Europe for the penultimate time this season, and to Hungary, just under 15 miles from the centre of Budapest, for this great racetrack. 14 corners, rises and falls as well. It will play host to more drama, of course, in a series that has already produced 1 last lap pass this season. Welcome to the broadcast. My name's Yona Louis. I'm alongside Joey Tebben here tonight. And Joey, we've had the chaos of Sandown. We've put it behind us, and it's time to get ready for the Hungaroring and this circuit that does centre itself around the Mercedes, it has to be said.
It does center itself around the Mercedes. I was distracted by the beautiful new graphic down there on the bottom. Look at that. But the Hungaroring, it's always a track that isn't the easiest to pass, but we have seen races earlier this season in some of the other series at the Hungaroring. I remember last week in the MX-5s, we had a fantastic race here, and there's fuel strategy on the mind this week, just like it was at Long Beach. We're hearing that at the very least, the Mercedes might be able to stretch a zero stop, and somebody can pull that off. We could be looking at a big upset in one of these races tonight.
We certainly could. Back at round 2, we saw that, of course, pulled off by Guillaume Levesque to win that race earlier on this season. In terms of what we have left, only 2 rounds after this one at Suzuka and the Nürburgring, but we're headed to much bigger and much more higher rated racetracks, I suppose, if you want to talk about the kind of modern racetrack and all its runoff and whatever. The Hungaroring does have a bit of that. Suzuka still has some of it as well, although it is a big challenge, and the Nürburgring course as well for the GP circuit. For our finale, is the championship still going to be contested by then, though, or will Danik van Dale have it sewn up by that point? well, he's got a couple of rounds to try and do it before the end, I suppose. 22 points is his current margin. Right now, he's on 212. Alex Bergstrom wasn't able to attend the Sandown race, but still scored 28 points because of the way the drop round works. He's still at 28 points added to his tally, but it means he cannot falter from here on in because his drop week is now the 0 points. So anything that he does from now on will count towards that championship, and he really just needs to start closing the gap. Adam Brockway still in contention as well, 35. Fred Galini possibly the last driver with realistic intentions on winning this championship, even though 44 points back with only 3 races to go. When there's only 35 up for grabs for a victory, it's looking fairly unlikely for him as well. It's all about who can catch, if anybody, Danik Van Daly at this point. In the Teams Championship as well, it's very much a one-horse race as well, I guess you'd say, with Yellow Stripe Motorsport. 99 points is their lead. Danik Van Daly trying to do all he can for Advanced Sim Racing and pull them up, but unfortunately, he hasn't really got the help of his teammates. In this one, if this one really, well, of course he has, but they're not doing too much to actually pull him towards that Team's Championship. So at the moment it's Yellow Stripe Motorsports, but Joey, it really is a case of Danik Van Daly is to lose at this point. I feel in the fixed series, certainly that is a big lead heading into the final 3 races, and if we really are going to see a championship finale contested fiercely, then Alex Bergstrom needs to start gaining points starting today, really.
And Danik Van Daly got a big gift last week. If you were here with us for that finish at Sandown, it was Fred Galini's race to win. Adam Brockway made a move, a little bit too overeager of a move, he admitted, and he apologized for, took out Fred Galini, and Danik Van Daly came driving through from what should have been a 3rd place finish. It became a win. But he's not been lucky all season. He has been the fastest driver all season. You don't win 5 races out of 7, or 4 races out of 7, I believe, without being very, very quick. So while there was luck on his side last week, that could very well change. And Fred Galini has been the master of the past 2 weeks. He's been easily the fastest driver in qualifying and the race. Made a mistake at Spa, fell out of a very good winning position, gave the win to Eric Luke at the end of all of it. Last week he got taken out from the win, and on top of all that, he has a 20-point penalty, a 20-point points penalty for switching to the Audi mid-season. So if Fred Galini had a little bit better luck, I think he would be 100% in the championship conversation with Danik Van Daly. He's just taken a few too many hits, and that's knocked him down.
Well, I guess you could say that for quite a lot of drivers, really, in this championship, of course. But before we go any further into qualifying, which is just underway, let's tell you a little bit about the sponsors that, of course, make this broadcast possible, including VCO, our broadcast partners here at RaceSpotTV, helping us out, bringing you every Precision Racing League race in 2022 in Season 3. Brought to you, of course, also, as always, by Advanced Sim Racing. Owned and operated by passionate sim racers, Advanced Sim Racing designs and builds the sturdiest and most durable aluminum profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. All PRL members also get a 5% discount on ASR products using the Precision5 coupon code. RaceLab helps you to improve your driving performance with modern overlays, race statistic and native VR integration. You can get the best out of iRacing. Start using it now for free at racelab.app. Bookkicker products provide an incredible immersion of realism to every game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat. And finally, NinjaTrader, ready to compete against the financial markets. Supporting over 60,000 users across the globe, NinjaTrader provides award-winning trading software and brokerage services. NinjaTrader is always free to use for advanced charting, backtesting and trade simulation. Visit ninjatrader.com to get started with a risk-free trading simulator and start tracking your performance. Those are the sponsors that make this broadcast and this coverage here tonight and every night possible here at RaceSpotTV. Qualifying just about halfway through at the moment. We've got 10 minutes, but 4 laps more importantly, and it's just about the perfect time frame for those 4 laps to get in without problems. During practice, Danik Van Daly was a few tenths away from Fred Galini, however he tops qualifying at the moment, although is that because Fred Galini hasn't been able to get a lap in just yet? Let's wait and see on that one, but for the moment the championship leader does just have a very narrow advantage.
And Bergstrom, you just saw, going to back off there. He knew he wasn't going to improve, so he's going to bring it back to the pits and go for a second run. That's an interesting strategy that we see some drivers follow in these qualifying sessions. Instead of going for a full 4-lap run, which you can do in this time frame, they elect to go for maybe a 1-lap run, then throw away one of their laps, and then go for a 2-lap run at the end, or reverse it. Either way, you're not getting the full 4 laps. You're getting only 2 or 3 that are completely maximized. So Adam Brockway, Alec Bergstrom's going to come back to the pits as well and try and do that. We'll see if he can improve it all. Here's Sean Carmody on your screen, 7th place. That looks like his best qualifying of the season, and he's going to make it even better, up to P5.
He is. Not, but or is it? It might have been an off track actually. The time was good enough for P5, but it doesn't look like it's carried through, possibly due to an off track, which are fairly easy to get around here. I mentioned in the little calendar preview there about the circuits with a little bit more runoff maybe than others coming up as Fred Gallini goes to the front now. But out of the 3 remaining ones, Suzuka obviously big challenge with not too much runoff around there, only really spoon curve and maybe 130R as well, where you can run off, but it's not really too much of a factor. Nürburgring, you have got a few places, but here you certainly have got really quite a lot of places where you can go that little bit wide and end up with an off track.
I seem to find all of my off tracks at Suzuka and the second Degner on the outside there. I tend to overextend that, but maybe that's just me. But here at the Hungaroring, there's so many places. Even right here on the exit of this chicane, it's almost easy to drive off a little bit too far, dip a tire in the grass, and then through this twisty section, there's asphalt runoff on the outside of every single corner. You have to make sure you don't overstep the boundaries there. And these drivers only have 13 incident points to play with in the race. Of course, in qualifying, incident points don't necessarily matter in terms of penalties. They just delete your lap. But in the race, if you accrue 13 points, that's disastrous, because you'll get a drive-through penalty, and if you accrue 4 furthermore points, you get a disqualification. You're kicked out of the race entirely. So these drivers do need to be very careful, and they do need to keep it inside the white lines, because 13 incident points, that can rack up very, very quickly.
Certainly can, and a drive-through around here is one of the longer ones that you're going to experience on this calendar, as we're on board with Jean-Francois Champagne going over the line right now with a nice improvement of about half a second, and he moves into 15th place as we see Fred Gallini going very wide through the final corner. He's trying to get the best run possible onto the front straight to have one more go at this. Just over 2 minutes to go for the Audi driver, who is so strong in qualifying. He performs week after week, now 3 poles to his name out of the races so far. This might well be his 4th. He's just unstoppable in qualifying right now, and if he gets some of these races together a bit more consistently, then he is going to be one to watch, although I think he's left it a bit late this season.
He's still been one to watch this season, but he's going to be wishing for far more, and I imagine we'll see him next season in this series, and he'll be a real championship contender there, assuming the Audi is still as strong as it is for him right now. Blake Ziti, another driver who's doing a very solid job in qualifying here. P6, probably his best qualifying of the season. I could not tell you Blake Ziti's exact stats, but this is further up the order than he normally is. Last night at the GT4 race at Road America, he had a little bit of misfortune, didn't have the best race, and he actually got taken out coming to the line by a sort of avoidance maneuver of a car that ran out of fuel. It was a big kerfluffle. We wrecked a lot of cars in the start-finish line of Road America last night, but Blake Ziti's looking for better things, and right now he's found very much better things, and he might just improve even more on this lap if he can find 3 more tenths. That's the top 5.
He's not finished a race inside the top 10 yet this season, so it really, I think you're right. I think it would be his best qualifying performance, and really outperforming himself almost, if you like, here as Hugo Caputo just goes half a tenth in front of him. He'll at least be able to reclaim that 3rd row on the grid here. Blake, if he can just get himself over the line with a nice lap. Very nice lap from Blake Ziti, who goes to 2nd. He's performing out of his skin here at the Hungaroring, almost pushing Fred Gallini all the way there. 0.07 of a second away from the number 2 Audi as we go to the championship leader. Can he break Fred Gallini's heart just at the very end here with a nice lap time in the Mercedes? The championship leader, not only does he want to take this one all the way to the end of the season, he also wants pole right now, and he's going to try and get the extra point for it as well. Into the final corner for the 11 Mercedes, trying to get that late apex and the best run possible onto the short run to the front straight, and it's not quite enough for Danik Van Dele. He's only half a tenth away from his previous best. but it won't be enough. Fred Galini will do enough to get into that pole position ahead of Blake Ziti. It's going to be an all Audi front row in what is quite a surprising qualifying here at the Hungaroring. What a performance that is from Blake Ziti to get himself on the front row. He's alongside Fred Galini, championship leader Danik Van Dale, alongside one of his rivals, Adam Brockway, on the second row. Michael Terrafino consistently in the top 5. He is again. He'll be alongside Sean Carmody to start this race. Alec Bergstrom might be a bit disappointed with 6th, 7th, with Hugo Cavuto just behind him. Eric Dubé makes it inside the top 10 with Andre Bonatti, with Joey Haynes missing out this time, and new debutant Mike Griffith in 12th. Ryan Chandler will be 13th alongside Baron Glover. Dave Peterson rounds out the top 15. Jean-Francois Champagne is just in front of Philippe Magnon and Dale Pedersen. Then we've got Brendan Victil and Roy Brown rounding out the top 20. Mathieu Gagnon rounds out, or is 21st, ahead of Carol Stridecharts. That's Donald Olsen and Glenn Vanko on the 12th row together. Sean Duhamel is a little bit further down than maybe he's used to. He will round out the top 25 ahead of Ryan Luna and Dom Bowden. Brian Hoskins 28th here ahead of Steve Bammer and Jim Fitzpatrick, running out the top 30. And David Boucher and Guillaume Huard may take the start of this race, although I've got a question mark over them. I'm not entirely sure if they will. Not a very long formation lap here, Jerry, so a quick word on Blake Ziti there, because that is the performance of the week, performance of the season maybe.
His previous best qualifying result this season, P9, usually around that range from P9, a few positions lower, some races down as low as P22, but that's been his range all season. But somehow, at the Hungaroring in that Audi, as the cars say, he has shaken this grid up, and Blake Ziti makes it an all Audi front row with Fred Galini. He's got to be careful here. Sometimes when you get that front row, when you get a qualifying result that's better than you expected, when you're on the front row for the first time all season, it's very easy to get overeager and make a mistake, and that's possibly the most embarrassing thing you can do, to make a huge mistake while you're running your best all season. I'm not going to will that into existence. I'm not going to curse him. I hope he's stronger under pressure than I am.
It's a difficult turn one as well to charge down into. Just think about the incidents we've had there in real life, both recently and in the past as well. It's a difficult turn one to go through when there are 32 cars bearing down at it. The Precision Racing League GT3 Fix Series getting underway here for round 8. We've already got someone in the wall in the background. Somebody spinning out at the final corner. It's kicked off a little bit of chaos, but we are under green now with the all Audi front row. And Blake Ziti is already getting under attack here. Danik Van Dale on the very inside. We've got Brockway in the middle of 3 wide in the BMW. He looks like he's going to try and take second here away from Van Dale. They run down into turn 2. It looks like the championship leader might have this place, and he does with a bit of late braking, with Michael Terrafino trying to get himself into the top 3 here. He's a little bit wide, and so he won't be able to get it. Blake Ziti drops to 5th, but it's a clean start at the front of the field. Further down, there's been a lot of chaos with a BMW already in the wall.
And Mike Griffith, his first race all season, is a PRL veteran. He's been here for many, many years. First race this season, though, and it's already ended with a big crunch into the wall. And that was Ryan Chandler as well, the 75 Mercedes you saw spearing into the wall in the start there on the initial start. So bad luck for 2 drivers. The race hasn't even started yet, and they've already got heavy damage. Very disappointing for them too, but a very clean start up front.
We'll get some replays in a few moments' time, but for now there's just too much going on. That's Roy Brown. He's got damage as well. He's a bit of a disjointed rear wing there for the Team B Ferrari, and so he might well have to come in for an early stop, and I can hear more contact just up in front with these guys. It's all kicking off around the P18 kind of mark. Coach Stridecharts has made some progress there as one of the BMWs goes around. I think it's Ryan Luna who's gone around. It is indeed. He drops down out to 30th and not really looking where he's going on the exit as well, trying to rejoin. It's been a chaotic first lap, but out front, Fred Galini has retained his lead, although he is under pressure from the championship leader.
I think Ryan Luna back there had a little bit of damage. He was kind of flailing, so maybe he got into Ryan Chandler. I don't know. I won't speculate. We'll take a look at what happened there. But Danik Van Dale, what a first lap he's had. Jumped Blake Ziti, jumped Adam Brockway, and now he's very much in control of the second place, and he's all over the back of Fred Galini. But now my question, with that Mercedes, we know it's capable of saving fuel better than any car. We know it's technically possible to go for a 0 stop. Will he even go for that, or will he just go for the normal strategy? I don't know. Here's another Mercedes that got into bad luck. Ryan Chandler Did he just get into the side? No, there's no contact with Jean-Francois Champagne. He just lost it out of the final corner.
Yeah, cold tyres and trying to take a bit of a tighter line off the final corner eventually did for him, I'm afraid. This is Mike Griffith. Oh, he gets so unlucky. Griffith gets so unlucky there. And he nearly attacks our cameraman as well as we go and look at Roy Brown, who gets just slightly shoved off the road and then shoved off even further by one of the Mercedes. So it was a very physical first lap for him, and then just behind him, Ryan Luna maybe already had a bit of damage, but he certainly had a loose rear end and he was in the wall pretty quickly. There, I'm afraid he has dropped way down as well. That was pretty much all that happened during lap 1, but only 2 cars remarkably coming in the pit lane after that. Ryan Chandler and Mike Griffith both needed repairs after lap 1. I'm surprised there wasn't a few more actually, because it was a very chaotic first lap, especially outside the top 10.
And I'm sure there's going to be a few more drivers with damage who will have a little bit to worry about. Joey Haynes in the 33, that was the black and green Mercedes that we saw spearing into the side of Mike Griffith. I imagine he'll have something in terms of damage, but other than that, we've gotten over lap 1. We've gotten all the scaries out of the way in basically from 10th on. It was a completely clean start up front, but just from 10th on, it just went absolutely crazy. And now we're in a little bit of a holding pattern. Dave Peterson is going on the move here on Jean-Francois Champagne. Some Ferrari on Ferrari battles here, and Jean-Francois is going to fight back.
There's not much space down there, and he realised it didn't want to go down the inside of his fellow Ferrari on such a narrow line there, and so Champagne just dropped back there. Philippe Magnon trying to get involved as well in the Porsche. You can just see in the background. But yeah, this is really where the battles are, in the midfield, where the field has all been spread apart just a little bit and shuffled about, certainly quite a lot throughout that opening few laps. Particularly looking at the likes of Roy Brown and Sean Duhamel, etc., who are a bit out of position at the moment. They're battling over 12th right now, along with the likes of Glenn Banco and 22nd, I should say, along with the likes of Glenn Banco and Donald Olsen, etc. Those are the guys that you might be looking towards to maybe climb up the order over the next few moments. And there is Roy Brown just on the back of Duhamel, just in front, or goes wide himself. It's not been a great opening start for Roy Brown, who often finds himself inside the top 10, but not on this occasion. He's well outside the top 20 and struggling. You can just see by the lines he's taking, not comfortable at the moment.
He was trying to pull a little bit of a switchback on Sean Duhamel, but just kind of fell apart. He switched himself back and lost all the momentum through the twisty second sector of this track, but he has caught back to the back of the Ferrari. It seems like all the Ferraris on track are meeting each other here, and he's in a little bit of a sandwich because a few cars ahead, his teammate is making this a team beef sandwich with Sean Duhamel and a few others in the middle here. Down the front straight, you can get a little bit of a draft. It's not the longest front straight in the world, but if you can take advantage of the draft, you can attempt to make a move, but Roy Brown not going to be close enough this time. But there is another Ferrari in the background. Looks like Donald Olsen, or actually no, that's Brian Hoskins and Don Bowden side by side.
That's Bowden getting down the inside, and a nice move for 24th for the 5 car there, making his way through. Nice move into turn number 1. I have to say, this circuit, obviously one of those where it is a bit more difficult to overtake, but turn 1 is certainly your best opportunity down there at the hairpin, as we've got big smoke and somebody going way off in the background. I think it was a big save from the 6 car of Dale Pedersen, quite possibly. He might have been the one going around, although I'm not sure whether he was helped or whether he just got really sideways on his own there, but certainly did, and goes a bit wide through the chicane as well. But turn 4 is another corner we can talk about, because it's so committed, so fast, but also the consequences for getting things slightly wrong there are really quite huge as well.
They are huge, and I'm amazed he saved that. When I saw that smoke coming up over the hill, I thought, oh my goodness, look at that drift. That's incredible. He clipped the grass on the entry, completely unintentional, and then that might be the save of the season. I'm lost for words. That was fantastic from Dale Peterson.
That is very, very impressive indeed. Maybe not the fastest, of course, but very impressive nevertheless. Brendan Victor was able to gain on that and capitalise on that, by the way. In the 63, he was the Mercedes that went through there on the inside. So he gained a place from that, but at least Pedersen is still in the race, because it could have been a very, very different outcome indeed from what it was looking like. Anyway, Three leaders, by the way, just getting away from the rest right now. Fred Galini, Danik Van Dale and Alan Brockway all separated by about 2 seconds, and then Michael Terrafino is just letting them go ever so slightly, not intentionally of course, but just the pace of the race that he can't quite hold at the moment. Galini's under a little bit of pressure here, but not too much. I think the more important and the more pleasing thing for Danik Van Dale is that he's putting good time into Alec Bergstrom, who's still languishing in 6th place.
Yeah, Bergstrom has not had the best start. Blake Zeedy, after falling a few positions, is kind of stagnated in 5th as well. But this is exactly what Danik Van Dale needs to do. When it's difficult to make a pass at a track like this, we know Fred Galini has had a few issues. Remember at Spa, he made a mistake, and Danik Van Dale can force him into a mistake. That's the easiest way to make a move, or he can save just a little bit of fuel behind him, distend that pit stop, is that a word? Maybe, and jump him in the pits. That's what Danik Van Dale's done many times. I don't think we'll see a 0 stop in this race at least. I think if that's going to happen, we're going to have to save the shenanigans for somebody like Guillaume Levesque in the GT3 Sprint Series coming up next. But here, fuel saving still matters. Save those precious tenths of a second in the pit cycle, and you might not have to make the move on track.
Well, I think we noted as well, I think it's a good point about Sean Carmody's gone off as well in the final corner. He might have got the grass on the way in there. He's dropped himself. Yeah, here it is. It's a classic mistake. Final corner and just goes for a spin there. I think he's dropped outside the top 10 as a result, actually. He has. Baron Glover got through. Joey Haynes is going to get down the inside into turn 1, is he? No, Carmody very committed on the brakes considering what just happened to him. A fair play to him for that. He holds on to 11th, but drops down the order. We were talking, though, just before we came on air, though, Joey, about the fuel mileage of these different cars and how it differs with the balance of performance or whatever between the different cars. We did note that Mercedes, even if, obviously, Van Dale, we think anyway, is saving a bit of fuel behind Galini right now, but even without that, we think that the Mercedes might be that little bit more efficient anyway.
It is that much more efficient. You can save fuel in every single GT3 car, but the Mercedes and some of the fuel maps that it offers, it's the newest car. It is a very, very easy car to save fuel in from what we've heard, and that opens up a lot of strategy options for the Mercedes drivers, and that's just yet another tool for the Mercedes drivers. It's the most preferred car in this series and in the GT3 Sprint Series, a little bit less so in this series. Drivers have proven to be able to win in non-Mercedes cars. They haven't in the Sprint Series, but still, there is a distinct advantage to being in a Mercedes, and I think Danik Van Dale is taking advantage of all those advantages.
Yeah, we've seen 4 different cars take wins here in the Sprint Series. However, we haven't seen a non-Mercedes take victory. Excuse me, in the Fixed Series, we haven't seen a non-Mercedes take victory in the Sprint Series. That's coming up a little bit later on in this broadcast. But yeah, 4 different cars, including the Audi at the wheel, or with Fred Galini at the wheel, able to take that win back a few weeks ago. And yeah, it was back at the Montreal race. That was the Audi's victory, putting an end to Danik Van Dale's domination at the time. But yeah, in the Sprint Series, it's a much different prospect at hand. For the moment, though, we've got 4 different manufacturers inside the top 4, and plenty of battles just outside of that as well. Sean Carmody's spin has kind of created this train for 9th place. Hugo Caputo is leading it, and we've got Baron Glover, Sean Carmody himself, Joey Haynes and Dave Peterson just in behind. Just see him latching himself onto the back there, but Carmody is certainly the one applying the most pressure right now, and you'd expect that because he is running out of position after all since his spin.
And he wasn't quite able to save it like Dale Peterson was, but luckily for him, there is all of that runoff on the outside there, so no damage on the Sean Carmody car, but there is some tire damage and there is some pride damage, but he is on a recovery drive. He hasn't made any mistakes since that mistake. It's easy to compound the mistakes. It's easy to push too hard and throw it off the road even worse, but he's done a great job. He's been very consistent, and now he's just trying to chase down Baron Glover and Hugo Caputo, 2 more Mercedes to fight with this Audi.
Just trying to take them all on at this stage. Caputo certainly seems to be struggling though, and he's going to get dived here at the penultimate turn. Oh, he goes wide himself, and Comedy's going to follow him through. What's happening to Caputo there? Almost looked like he's having a problem through turn 13 there, but just slow on the way in and through the middle as well. Right round the outside from the Audi now. He's going to make his way through for Sean Carmody, and Joey Haynes is going to want a piece of this as well. Just tucked inside the slipstream right now, might have a dive at turn 1 himself. Let's have a look here. It's actually Caputo doing the diving. Carmody under pressure into turn 1, although he's going to have the nice flowing line and the exit off of the corner. Wasn't a great exit in the end, he's got it slightly wrong. Caputo now is going to have the opportunity, and his nose in front on the way down to turn 2. Needed a bit more commitment under brakes though, and there's contact, more contact. Joey Haynes goes around after contact with him. Dave Peterson gets into contact and also goes around. 3 spun cars down at turn 2.
And he's got to be careful here on the rejoin. I hope he didn't collect anybody driving backwards on the track like that, but Joey Haynes on the inside. We'll have to look at another angle. I don't know if Hugo turned down into him, but there were a lot of cars all over the place there. I don't know what happened into the second to last corner.
What was happening here? What is he doing here? Oh my goodness me. That's very dangerous, but
very dangerous. But here we go. Here's the angle I wanted to see. Joey Haynes is gonna pop in here. Look at the green and black car. That's Joey Haynes, Hugo Caputo in the familiar purple ASR car here down the hill. Yeah, Hugo just turned into him. I mean, I don't think Joey was intending to send it in there, but he had a nose there, and Hugo just kept turning down.
Oh, I don't know. It's so. This, by the way, really don't ever do this. By the way, if you're watching at home, goodness me, why is he driving?
I hope he didn't get disqualified.
Well, it's part of me hopes he did, because that was so dangerous. But yeah, he is back to the pit lane now. Actually, I'm not sure whether that was disqualification or just an escaping, a towing back to pit lane. But yeah, never do that. Don't ever drive the wrong way down the racetrack. As Blake Ziti now under pressure from Alec Bergstrom down into turn 1. Unfortunately, Blake Ziti just dropping back a little bit after that qualifying performance. Admittedly, after lap 1, he's only dropped 1 place, and that's the first position he has lost since lap 1. However, he's still a little bit lower than he was before. As I said earlier, though, he's not finished in the top 10 yet this season, so this is still a very good performance from Blake Ziti, who's having a wonderful day, and it is great to see for the Audi driver. Bergstrom, oh my goodness me, got on that curb on the outside. Bergstrom, it's so deadly at the exit of turn 4 there, just up on top of the curb. When you just have that levelling off and that dip down, you can very easily get your right side tyres the wrong side of that and get yourself into the wall. But Bergstrom was able to just have quick enough reactions there to save that from happening.
Great save by Alec Bergstrom, but that shows that the pressure's still on. He might have made the move on Blake Ziti, but Blake is not going anywhere here through turn 11. This is a great opportunity for Blake Ziti, and Bergstrom actually goes off. I don't believe he'll get a slowdown for going that far off, but the pressure's on for Bergstrom. He knows that Danik Van Daly's kind of running away up there in second. The gap is only going to extend between them in the championship if he finishes down here. Blake Ziti's keeping the pressure on. He's got to make sure to not throw away even more than 6th.
Absolutely. There is a little bit of a gap to the drivers behind. Eric Dubé and Andre Bonatti are battling at the moment. So that's just and you can see it in the background. Dubé having to defend quite wildly down towards turn 1. You can see the dust and the dirt and all the rubbish off the road being kicked up slightly, but not really a bit of a dramatic defence there from Dubé. Didn't really need to do too much to hold Bonatti back into turn 1 there, and into turn 2 where we've seen Hugo Caputo and Joey Haynes have that contact, of course. Joey Haynes dropped down to where did he drop down to in the end? He actually retired from the race, unfortunately, after the contact. However, it's still not really sure which way to call it. It's such a close incident, but of course the stewards will have a look if either of them protest it, of course. But yeah, it's very much a controversial incident, a 50-50 one. But we'll see which way that one goes after the race, of course. But we're getting towards half distance, just 1 minute away from that now. Pit stops will follow pretty soon afterwards, and we'll really get to see whether Danik Van Daly really has been holding something back or whether he's just been holding on.
There's only been one legitimate pit stop made so far. Roy Brown brought it down pit road. Everybody else who's done so has had damage. Chandler, Luna, Peterson, the likes of them, they've all had damage. They've brought it down pit road, but The fact that Roy Brown is pitted tells me that the strategery window is open. The pit stop window is open. Fred Galini not going to bring it down pit road this time. Let's see what Blake Ziti elects to do now that we are literally halfway in the race. No, they're going to elect to wait even longer, and that's not really a surprise. Ziti's not really getting held up by Bergstrom. If anything, Bergstrom's actually helping a little bit as they both try and chase down Michael Terrafino here. If he was in traffic, if he was actually losing time, getting out of the traffic here, pulling an undercut, that might be an optimal strategy. But right now, you really have no real reason to come down pit road right now. So we'll be waiting for a few more minutes, I'm sure.
Yeah, I think for Roy Brown, it's a great call to go back there. And Jean-Francois Champagne and Mathieu Gagnon have both done it as well. So Champagne brings the Ferrari down pit lane, and Gagnon's in. Sean Duhamel is in as well there. So there are pit stops starting to happen, but if you are back in the field, you're more likely to find yourself in clean air, which is the good thing. For example, if Fred Galini comes in right now, he's going to find himself in a big battle here. I think he'd be around the kind of Carl Streichart's kind of area, maybe a bit higher up than that, around between Philippe Magnan and Carl Streichart, somewhere in there at the moment. And that's just not that useful. If you're trying to get an undercut on someone, you need clean air as well as the pit stop itself.
And I gotta correct my habits here. I'm in IndyCar mode. I just said pit road. We're in Hungary. It's a pit lane. Gotta get it right.
It's the same thing. Yeah. Anyway.
Eggplant versus aubergine.
Exactly. I do have to change my language for the NASCAR series, so I guess I'm no better to be honest. But either way, Fred Galini, is he going to break it down this time? No, neither of them do. And for the reasons I just explained, I think these two are going to stay a bit longer out there for the moment. These guys might just not to have one eye on pit lane though, because stuck in behind Michael Terrafino at the moment is Alex Bergstrom, and he really does look a lot quicker than the Ferraris just in front. He's so close to the rear end of the Team Beef driver, and might just have that little look down the inside into turn one, exactly what he did to Blake Ziti a few laps ago, though he's staying behind for now, staying so close he almost could have had a dive there.
I think he definitely could have gone for the move. I'm confused as to why he didn't. He must just not be confident enough on the brakes to think he could actually make that move work. The Mercedes is faster in a straight line, so I thought he would get a better run out of the final corner on Michael Terrafino, but not quite do it. And pit stops continuing further down the field. Andre Bonatti in one of the Mercedes. He is down pit lane. That's the correct word. And of course, Champagne, Gagnon, Brown, Donald Olson as well. So a lot of Ferraris and a few Mercedes coming down. The fuel is ticking down in every single one of these cars. Alec Bergstrom's patience is probably ticking down quite a bit right now because he looks to be a lot faster than Michael Terrafino, but he's just not able to find a way by, and Brian Hoskins is in trouble back here.
Turn one, this is. He might have had some help there to get into that position. Yeah, once again, for Alec Bergstrom, it's about damage limitation, and it's been like this week after week after week. He hasn't been gaining points in very many of these races. That's Brian Hoskins completely on his own, actually, into turn one. A little bit bizarre, but either way, he's got back going again. It's a race, though, that Alec Bergstrom really needs to take advantage of and try and get through. At the moment, he's projected to lose 6 points without bonuses, of course. That's without the fastest lap or the incident limit point that you can get for either of them. But if this pass was to be made, he'd still be losing 4 points, but he gives himself even more work to do with even less races to go. So once again, it's not ideal for Bergstrom, but what can you do? When you're 10 seconds behind Van Dellen, there's not a lot. All you can do is just try and get the position right in front of you, and that's what he's done there. He's just gone in front of Terrafino and placed his car pretty perfectly to not allow the Ferrari back into this one, although Terrafino did just about manage it anyway. He's on the outside into turn two, and he does commit, so might just be able to hold on here if he can keep his nose alongside for turn three, as Blake Ziti goes around at turn two, and he's going to struggle to reverse out from there as well. He loses to Glover and Carmody, and it might well be that Blake Ziti drops outside the top 10. Fortunately, he stays within it, but I don't know why. He just got caught up on this curb, and oh, he wasn't even on the curb, was he? Just span around on his own.
There was traffic coming by, so very well done, and actually very kind from Blake Ziti to wait a little bit to back up, and then he did find a window between Carmody and Magnan, so he found clean track, but he just had to sit there a little bit and That's just another error from Blake Zedi, unfortunately. Still in the top 10, though, so he still has the potential for a good result, but it's fallen apart just a little bit.
It has, unfortunately. Sean Carmody's race seemed to have fallen apart earlier. Oh, and he's gone off again. Zedi's gone off again further down. Oh, it's such a shame for the man who qualified in second place, was looking on course for his first top 10 of the season, and it's all unravelled here. It's another slide, and you get the feeling that that first spin maybe contributed to the second.
Tires probably just getting a little bit overheated, and the driver as well making another mistake, and I'm sure he's going to be very disappointed right now, but there's still 12 minutes left in the race. Anything can happen, and everything will happen that happens today. Danik Van Daly down pit road now. Pit lane, pit lane.
Let's see how long his pit stop is. More importantly, he's gotten going again. What is the pit stop time there for Van Daly? 9.8, so remember that, note that down. 9.8 seconds, and oh, frustratingly, there's a lap car just in front, but thankfully it is a lap car, and the 75 gets straight out the way. That was Ryan Chandler. He's 2 laps down at the moment, recovering from that first lap spin, of course, well, not even first lap, formation lap spin even, for him, I'm afraid. So Danik Van Daly's out there again. He's got a nice bit of clean air. He's got a 9.8 second pit stop under his belt, and now we're going to see what Fred Galini's got and whether he can stay out in front. Surely he's got to be in at the end of this lap to just cover off Van Daly.
I absolutely expect him to do that. There's no reason to continue to stay out. I don't even think he can go an extra lap. I think we're reaching the hard limit of the fuel tank of that Audi right now. Danik Van Daly just driving the perfect lap right now. Ryan Chandler wasn't in a great place, but he is multiple laps down with that damage, so he got out of the way. No harm, no foul. Now we're just seeing qualifying speed here for Danik Van Daly, and Fred Galini has to hope that he can put just as much fuel as Danik Van Daly put in the car, and he's not going to lose 2 or 3 seconds in the pit cycle, as often happens with drivers like Danik and with Sean Campbell in the GT4 series. They find fuel that probably shouldn't exist, but Fred Galini's in. Let's see.
This is going to be a very important pit stop for Fred Galini. I think you're right, we are reaching the hard limit here because Adam Brockway follows, and we might well see a whole host of the top 10 in here. Now then, hit your marks properly. He's in to the box without problem. Now 9.8 seconds was the stop. There is the Audi. He gets going after 10. He loses a couple of attempts. Doesn't get the cleanest getaway either. Now where's Van Daly? He's steaming down the front straight towards Fred Galini, who's on the inside line, and he's going to be exposed here towards turn 2. Van Daly's gained that little bit of time, but is it enough to have a go straight away? It's not really. It's basically as you were for the race lead in this race.
And no tires were changed in that whole process, obviously, with that short pit stop time. So Fred Galini, his tires are a little bit colder now that he's driven down pit road a little bit slower than Danik Van Daly's been going for this out lap, but they're still dead even here. And Fred Galini might have lost 2/10 in the pits, might have lost 1/10 overall. It doesn't matter. The gap stays basically exactly the same. And now Danik Van Daly's pit strategy didn't accomplish him anything. He's got to make the move on track here, and he's got to find a way to get closer than this 5/10 bubble he seems to have been stuck behind all race.
Philippe Magnan, by the way, is the only driver to make it to lap 15 on the same tank of fuel here, and it just gives us a little bit of food for thought in terms of the Sprint Series race here. Obviously, we'll get into that a bit later. However, it just gives us our first kind of marker post to see what those guys will be able to accomplish. Fred Galini versus Danik Van Daly, though, is going to be the action of the race from here on in. It's going to be between these two for the race win now. 8 seconds between them and Adam Brockway just in behind. Bergstrom another 5 seconds back. He's managed to overtake Tarafino and is on course for 4th at the moment. But it's more points lost to Van Daly. The focus really is going to be on these two, though, with a roughly 5 or 6 laps to go. It's going to be very close. It's going to be too many laps as far as Fred Galini's concerned. But Van Daly's just going to try and apply that pressure and try and get through. Although I get the feeling that he's really going to struggle here. It's not easy to overtake.
It's not easy to overtake at this track, and it's not easy to overtake Fred Galini, who's been faster than literally everybody else in the field in qualifying and in the race. So the only way by, I think, is if Fred makes a mistake, and he's gonna be full focus right now. He's gonna hope that he's gonna make no mistakes, because if he does make one, Danik Van Daly is right behind him, and he hasn't made many mistakes all season either, so that's the way it will even out. If it does, Fred's only job, just keep driving your line, make no mistakes, and you've probably got the win in the bag here, unless Danik can pull off an insane move somewhere that we can't even predict.
Oh yeah, don't celebrate too early, of course, but just hitting your marks at this point may be enough. Although, let's just cast our minds back to what happened last week. Sat down between Adam Brockway and Fred Galini. And this will be in Fred's mind, no doubt, as well. When it comes to the last lap, when you've had no opportunities to go through, you begin to get desperate. Brockway was certainly desperate for that race win 1 week ago. He gave it a go at the final corner. It ended in disaster. I just wonder whether there's going to be a last lap bit of desperation from the championship leader to try and make this move, because he basically hasn't had a chance to even attempt it yet.
I don't think there will be, because frankly there's no real reason to. Danik Van Daly essentially has the championship on lock right now, and if he tries to go for a low percentage move on Fred Galini, maybe even spins himself out, takes himself out, gives himself heavy damage, that's going to take away a second place finish, a strong second place finish, and that could actually open up the championship to someone like Brockway or Bergstrom or even Galini. So if I'm thinking championship right now, I'm honestly kind of happy to run in second. I'll take a win if it's handed to me on a silver platter, but right now I'm not going to do anything stupid here. I'm happy with second. I want the win. Every racing driver wants the win, but Danik Van Daly's got a very comfortable championship right now, and I don't think he's the kind of driver who's going to do anything too drastic here.
I mean, the thing is, for Van Daly, he's got a real nice safety net to fall back on in terms of the drop weeks here. His worst finishing result this season so far is 5th place back at Montreal. Now, that was maybe, by his standards, a bit of an off day, and he did lose points quite heavily on that day. He took his biggest hit in points to Alec Bergstrom, who closed the margin on that day. However, he's got a big safety net to fall back on there, so he can go for this race win, and he'll be safe in the knowledge that even if he scores 0 today, he'll still have 26 points added to his overall score, and at the moment that's only a few less than Alec Bergstrom. I do agree though, he's got the title in his hands right now, it's his to lose, and if he were to go for a low percentage lunge on Fred Galini, then he might lose out. So I do kind of agree with your thinking that he might not go for it. I'm just throwing it out there that he does have a bit of a safety net to maybe free himself to have a go in one of these situations.
Unfortunately, though, right now it doesn't seem like he's actually fast enough to catch Fred Galini. Galini's actually been pulling away on these last couple laps, so we both want to see a good race in the booth. We both want to see a crazy fastest lap, or crazy last lap again, I should say. But unfortunately, Danik Van Daly just doesn't seem to have the speed right now for any sort of theoretical situation to happen.
Absolutely. Fred Galini's win earlier this season, by the way, was his first PRL win in GT3s. He might well add his name to the list of those who have managed to get 2 hit. Brockway also another one of those who took his debut win this season, as far as GT3 competition is concerned anyway. And at the moment, he is certainly putting the pace on here. Now, whether there's 3 laps to go or 4 is a bit up for debate at the moment. It is still going to be fairly close, but I don't think it's going to matter anymore to Fred Galini as we go back to Eric Dubé and Baron Glover and Sean Carmody. Somehow, Carmody's found himself behind Baron Glover again here. I thought he'd made his way through, actually, before the pit stops. Maybe he dropped back again afterwards. However, he did have a very long lane time, actually. His lane time was a good 2 seconds slower than the 2 drivers in front of him, so pit stops have sort of cost him in this race, although I don't think he would have been able to get better than 7th anyway. He's got all this work to do again, and only 4 minutes to do it.
Definitely looks faster than Baron Glover, though, so if he can pull a lunge here, he might be able to make up for a few of the issues earlier on in the race. This joke works better in your accent, Ewan, but I think his pit lane incident might have been a comedy of errors.
Ah, nice. Yeah, I wouldn't have thought of that, though. By the way, on Twitter earlier, Joey was also making puns about Hungary, but so we're really on it today. Oh, he is, but I get your point. He's going to have to do the work, though, to try and get through here on the Mercedes and Ferrari just up in front. He's just getting that nicer line through the final turn to maybe have a go into turn 1, although doesn't really have the speed out of it. And Eric Dubé once again defending dramatically into turn 1, despite the fact he doesn't really need to. He was doing this with Andre Benatti just in behind him, but the 27 was able to get in front through the pit stop phase, I think, or maybe on the road as well. But either way, Dubé just defending for his life at the moment, and Baron Glover hasn't really been presented with an opportunity to try and go through. As I mentioned, this might be the penultimate lap. It might be third from last. We are very, very close indeed.
It's a 3-car battle here, which is very interesting. The Ferrari versus the Mercedes versus the Audi. We're kind of seeing the strengths of every single one of them at work here. But we're also seeing the disadvantages of every single one of them at work here, because nobody seems to be able to actually make the move on each other. And Eric Dubé, like you noticed, he has been so aggressive on these straights. He's been blocking all the way to the inside every single time on every single straight. It's not really necessary. I don't know why he's doing it, but I think he's just kind of fluffing up his feathers a little bit like a peacock and showing Baron Glover, if you get close to me, I'm defending as hard as I can. You're not getting by me. It's an interesting strategy, but there's 2 minutes left in the race. What else is going to happen? Might as well try and amuse yourself and psych your opponents out.
It is indeed going to be the penultimate lap this time around here for these guys, and Dubé is going to have a long couple of laps up in front of him here. It's going to be very hard for him to defend, but going to give it a go to try and get this 7th place if he possibly can. Baron Glover once again taking that narrow entry, the final corner, which is not the best way to do it. You really need the run off the corner, and you need the late apex there. Try and get the best run onto the home straight and then have a dive here. But it's almost like he's looking up the inside through the final corner, which is not really the place where you want to be making any moves. And whether it's because of that or whether Dubé's just got good exits off of that final turn, whatever it is, it means that just nobody can overtake going into turn 1 in this group.
Carmody here looking at a shot at Glover, though. He's making up for any mistake that Glover's made and all the momentum Glover's lost here. But the Audi of Carmody, unlike the Audi of Galini, it just doesn't seem to be as strong right now. I don't know if he has damage from a previous incident or what, but on the straights, of course, it's got nothing for the Mercedes. But even in the corners here, he's lost ground with Glover just a little bit now through the hill, up turns 5 and 6, and the chicane here. They're all closing up again in weird parts of the track, but they're all separating in weird parts of the track too, and nobody's able to even think about making a move. But now Carmody's actually closed up to the back again. It's unpredictable. Every single corner something changes, and he'll have one more shot into turn 11, I think.
Might just be able to give it one more go. Let's see. Once again, though, as you say, it changes corner by corner. One corner, Carmody is almost touching the rear end of Baron Glover, and then the next, there's 3 car lengths between them. It's a very bizarre battle at the moment, and Carmody not really fast in the right places to have a go here. The Audi not quite strong enough off the final corner, although that was a nicer line. Just maybe a bit scared to go so wide on the entry to that final corner, knowing that he touched the grass earlier on. He needed that late apex. He did finally get it. It's his last chance into turn 1. We're on the final lap, but there's no move this time.
No move that time. Ryan Chandler, the Mercedes on the outside, he's going to get out of the way. He's just been kind of hanging out, I think, to preserve any semblance of points he could pick up here. He gets out of the way, and this is the last lap. If Sean Carmody's going to make this move, he needs to find some place to make an aggressive move that you wouldn't otherwise make, but it's the last lap. He's in the top 9 right now. This is going to be one of the few top 10s of his season. Glover actually peeks to the inside of Dubé. That's going to kill his momentum, and that's exactly what Carmody needed. Can he go around the outside here? He's going to try it.
Turn 5 is not a place you often see moves, especially not around the outside, but Carmody's going to try it anyway. He pretty much has to. Into the chicane, they're going to go side by side. This is tight. Oh, and the 2 make contact slightly, wheel to wheel. And Baron Glover just bounces and bobbles backwards into 9th place. Sean Carmody gets his man finally, and he moves up into 8th. Meanwhile, further up the order, though, it's a much nicer drive for Fred Galini. He's going to take the checker flag and win for the 2nd time this season in the Precision Racing League GT3 Fixed Series. Danny Van Daly fell to nearly 5 seconds away by the end, but he once again extends his championship lead even further, with Adam Brockway behind in third and Alec Bergstrom in fourth. Meanwhile, behind it was Sean Carmody, who did manage to get that move done. He is into 8th. Baron Glover down to 9th with that last lap pass, and it was a very impressive one as well.
No Carmody of errors for Sean Carmody. That was a far better delivered version of that joke. I should have done that earlier. Sean Carmody, P8, Baron Glover, P9. I'm sure going to be a little bit dissatisfied with the contact, but that just looked like a little bit of a racing incident, at least from my perspective. Kyle Strykar's here in the SRT Esports Porsche. Kind of an anonymous run for Strykar's back here, but P15. That's going to be about an average finish, I think, based on how his season's gone. He's going to cross the line. Jean-Francois Champagne got into trouble, and then we got a few more stragglers coming up here. Glenn Vanko, the last of the team, Beeves, and a few other Ferraris that have survived to the end here.
They have indeed. Roy Brown, as he climbed to 17th in the end. You can just see him in the distance. Michael Tarafino, another top 5 for him here in this race. I think that's his 4th of the season now, possibly 5th. He's had a long history of top 5s in this season. A few more to come across the line as well, a little bit further down. What is happening here? Jim Fitzpatrick.
He's not out of fuel, but he might just be.
He's spluttering and coughing
Put it in
over
neutral,
the line.
Jim. Clutch and coast, clutch and coast.
There's still a few milliliters left, and he's just trying to get everything he can. Oh, get to the line, please. He just about does. Well, that was painful for Jim Fitzpatrick, but he does end up 25th, excuse me. And he gets over the line, thankfully, with very little fuel to spare. Fred Collini had enough, though, certainly, no doubt about that. Danik Van Daly finished 5 seconds adrift in the end. He was ahead of Adam Brockway and Alec Bergstrom with Michael Terrafino, another top 5 here today. Andre Bonatti, fairly lonely race, but ended up 6th. Eric Dubé held on for 7th, ahead of Sean Carmody in Baron Glover. Philippe Magnan, going the longest on fuel, managed to end up inside the top 10. Brendan Victil climbed to 11th during that race, with Dale Pedersen just behind. Blake ZT fell to 13th after qualifying on the front row. Jean-Francois Champagne and Kyle Streichert round out the top 15, with Mathieu Gagnon finishing just in front of Roy Brown. Donald Olsen, Glenn Banco and Sean Duhamel round out the top 20. Then it's Don Bowden with Steve Bauer, Brian Hoskins and Dave Boucher. Jim Fitzpatrick was caught by people on their cool-down lap. He was running out of fuel so badly. He finished 2.5 minutes down in the end. At least he was ahead of Ryan Luna and Ryan Chandler, who were both 2 laps down in the end. Fortunately, though, they saw the checkered flag, unlike Dave Peterson, Joey Haynes, Hugo Caputo, Mike Griffith and Guillaume Ward, who never really took the start in that race. Well, that's it for the fixed series, but we can now talk to the race winner from that, Fred Collini. Thankfully, you were leading into the final corner and things turned out well on this occasion here at the Hungaroring. Just talk us through what that race was like, especially in the second half where you really did pull away.
Yeah, thankfully this week we had a clean race. Danik was quick all first stint, and I don't know what happened. I don't know if he had incident points that he had to kind of back off a little bit, because he really came off the pace a lot. But he was quick all race. It was a fun race, and congratulations to him on a P2.
And congratulations to you, I guess we must say as well, not only on the win, but another pole position. It's your 4th of the season now, out of 8 races. Once every 2 weeks you're getting on pole here at the moment. Just what is it about you and this Audi and this combination around these circuits that just making you unbeatable in qualifying at the moment?
Yeah, I think it's the Audi is a little bit tricky to drive. It's got a pretty snappy rear end, but if you can master it and pin it around the corners like you want to, it's a great car to drive. You just got to be pretty careful. That's why it's good in qualifying. My race pace is a little bit down, is where I think it could be, but with qualifying, it's great. It's a good car to drive, and I'm looking forward to continue racing the season with it.
Absolutely, and we're looking forward to seeing you back out there again in the next 2 weeks, of course. Fred, thanks very much for coming to chat to us, and congratulations on your win tonight.
Thank you, guys. Thanks, everybody at RaceSpot putting on the broadcast.
Thanks very much. Fred Golini, first place here today at the Hungaroring, and we can bring in the man who was runner-up to him as well. Just 5 seconds adrift, Danik Van der Leer joins us now. Good to have you here, Danik, once again. You did fall away in the second half of that race. Just what was that down to, down at the end there? Was it a lack of pace, or were you just holding back because of incident points maybe or something?
Yeah, I got 12x, so I have to stop pushing like I do, and after that I just finished the race with 0.2 of fuel, so I have to stop pushing and just make sure to finish with my P2. So this is why I lose Fred with that.
Absolutely, but at least you did get the cars to the line in second place, I suppose. It gives you a bigger championship lead as well. How are you feeling about that championship situation now with only 2 rounds to go?
Honestly, I'm pretty confident if I just don't put too much pressure on myself. But, well, there's 2 races, so everything could happen. So just trying to keep my head cool.
Absolutely. It's going to be great to see you out there once again over the next 2 weeks, of course, Danik. Congratulations on that second place, and we look forward to seeing you again next week.
Yeah, goodbye.
Thanks very much. Danik Van der Leer, second place here today. We did find out our answer in the end there, Joey. He did have to fall back just ever so slightly because of the incident points and fuel all knocked into one. But he extends his championship lead once again. And, of course, let's not forget he can sew this championship up at Suzuka with just a nice finish. This is the racetrack we're going to next time, of course. There it is. For the fixed series, coming up same time, same place. And Danik Van der Leer has a real opportunity to close out this title charge, because if Alec Bergstrom doesn't, or indeed Adam Brockway, if they don't bring the margin down to below 12 points, so 11 or less, then he's won the title with 1 race to spare.
Yeah, their only hope is for the demise of Danik Van der Leer at Suzuka. They're hoping that he gets taken out. They're hoping that something happens to that Mercedes that puts Danik down in the 20s or the 30s in terms of finishing results. But as this season has gone, that's not something that's likely to happen. I think the championship is essentially Danik Van der Leer's for the taking here. It's basically his, but can't get ahead of yourself. There's still 2 more races to run, and far crazier things have happened in racing, and far more dominant championships have been lost.
Absolutely, I do agree. I think he does need 2 DNFs, in all honesty, to lose it. But let's put the fixed series behind us now, shall we? And focus ahead to the GT3 Sprint Series here at the Precision Racing League, which is coming right up for you here right now, here on RaceSpotTV. Let's have a quick look at the standings, of course, going into this race. First for the pro drivers, and it's Guillaume Levesque who has got this championship at the moment by the scruff of the neck. 38 points is his advantage over Andrew Waring, then Vincent Trepanier and Diego Morales, all within 46 points at the moment. But it's certainly Guillaume Levesque, Joey, who's very much in control of this title challenge.
Yeah, very much in control, and he's been in control all season. He's been almost unbeatable. He was beatable by Moises Caraballo in week 1. After that, he's been unstoppable unless the thing that's stopping him is a lapped car parked in the middle of the road like at Spa. But when nothing goes wrong for Guillaume Levesque, he's the best in this series right now. He's been dominant, and he's also been the best at saving fuel. Remember back to Long Beach when he saved all that fuel. He did a 0 stop to win that race. 0 stops possible here. Is Guillaume going to do it again?
It's very much possible. And of course, the AM Drivers' Championship as well, which is by far the most interesting of the 3 we have going on across the 2 series. Nick McLaughlin only 5 points, nice maths, 5 points ahead of Ryan Patrick, who gained those couple of points on him last week at Sandown with that race victory. McLaughlin, of course, dropping those 2 points, but gained 3 the previous week. But then again, he lost 3 the week before that. So it's really toing and froing, and the 2 cannot be separated as things stand in that title challenge. As far as the teams' championships are concerned, well, the YS Motors, the Yellow Stripe Motorsports guys have got it in the AMS at the moment, because Patrick and McLaughlin are on different parts of the same team, if you like. They're entered under 2 different teams. They are actually not leading at the moment in those standings. It's the consistency of the likes of Clayton Ham and Corey Precker which is getting them the lead in the AMS. And in the pros, it's ASR Esports Chrome. We've got 103 points over Evolve Sim Sports. That really is a very big advantage. Guillaume Levesque and Vincent Trepanier don't look like they're going to be caught there by Andrew Waring and also his teammate Jonathan Wager in that team's championship. Things are very much going well in that respect for those two. So that's a quick rundown on your standings for the GT3 Sprint drivers. We're just about to get into qualifying. We're 30 seconds away. It's no surprise once again though who is on top during this practice session. It's the 888 on your screen right now. Guillaume Levesque has got the best time. It doesn't matter too much, but I wouldn't be too surprised to be seeing that again in 5 minutes time.
Jonathan Wager 2/10 off though, we can't write him off. And also Tommy Breeson, Dominic Olivier is back. Remember how quick Dominic Olivier was at Spa? He was putting up a challenge for Guillaume Levesque. He was likely going to beat him to a win. So it's good to see Dominic back. Andrew Waring, of course, always competitive. Andrew Hardman in his new Mercedes. There's a lot of drivers who could take down Guillaume Levesque. Unfortunately, he has shown his hand in practice. He's P1, so they need to do even more work to take him down this week.
They certainly do. And there he is, just leaving pit lane here in qualifying. Now, I wanted to briefly talk about the race, though, before we really get into the times, because we've now seen the fixed series take their mark on the circuit, of course, and have their race. Now, looking at that in terms of trying to make this on no stops at all around here at the Hungaroring, we know it's obviously a big ask in terms of saving enough fuel, and you can't really lose more than about 27 seconds over the race either, because that's the pit stop delta. Has anything you saw there in the fixed series kind of put you off the no-stop strategy, or do you still think it might be possible for these guys in the open series?
Well, I think we learned at Long Beach that it's kind of difficult to compare between the two series because there's a fixed setup series, of course, and now this is an open setup series. I don't know what Guillaume Levesque could have done to the ASR Esports Mercedes setup, but if he could do it at Long Beach, if it's possible here, I don't know if he's going to go for the strategy here. I don't know if it would be worth it. I don't know if he would lose less than 27 seconds trying to save all that fuel. We've heard the numbers. We've heard the amount of fuel you need to save to pull that off over 23 or 24 laps, and it's a lot of fuel. It's a big percentage of fuel that you need to save every single lap, and it sounds to me like it would be pretty slow, but I'm thinking like a human racing driver. I'm not thinking like an alien, and I might have to start thinking like that to really understand how the strategy works.
Yeah, it's pretty difficult to understand, really. Especially Guillaume Levesque. I mean, it's a safer thing to do is to just do it the normal way and actually stop there for Levesque. So, you know, he might well just decide to do the safer thing as we go on board with Ryan Patrick. By the way, in terms of the Pro Drivers' Championship, it can be sewn up today if the margin is more than 65 points between Levesque and his nearest challenger by the end of the day. That does seem somewhat unlikely at this stage. In fact, it's nearly impossible. If Guillaume Levesque wins, though, and takes all 3 bonus points possible, and Andrew Waring scores less than 11 points, then Levesque will be crowned champion. And, of course, the load of different things have to happen with Trepanier and Diego Morales as well. So it's very unlikely, but just throwing it out there in case it becomes a possibility here tonight. Something that's certainly not a possibility, though, is the AM Championship being sewn up anytime soon. We're on board with Ryan Patrick, trying to deal that crown off Nick McLaughlin. And I have to say, what I like most about those two is the fact that the battle between the two is... there's so much respect there, and it's so well-natured between the two. I mean, they're so well matched out there on the circuit as well. They're going to give us a great fight over the final 3 weeks.
And they've been the only 2 winners in the AM class all season. Nick McLaughlin has 4 wins. Ryan Patrick has 3 wins. I'd say the balance of power has kind of shifted to Patrick recently, but McLaughlin won at Spa over Ryan Patrick. We saw Ryan Patrick make a big mistake at La Source and actually lose the chance to fight for that win. So the balance of power has shifted to Patrick overall, but McLaughlin's still there, and Nick McLaughlin doesn't go anywhere over the course of a whole season. But evidently neither does Ryan Patrick, because he's really putting up a challenge here, and the weeks are running out, and this battle's only going to get closer. But I don't think either of them were actually the fastest AMs in practice. I think that might have been J.R. Williams, if I remember correctly, or Clayton Ham. I don't remember.
I think it might have been Clayton Ham. As we look at my favourite car of all time, Nick Horvath in the McLaren, just making his way through the final sector to see the flames firing out of the back of this wonderful car and into the front. Look at that already. Guillaume Levesque. A 40.5 is enough for pole position at the moment. Horvath trying to get near Nick McLaughlin, who's got the best time at the moment in the AMS with a 1:41.9. Horvath just a second away from that at the moment. And interestingly, Patrick 4 tenths away and behind Miguel Angel Fonseca. So that is a bit of a surprise early on in the AM running. However, we did see from Patrick there, and this is becoming quite a popular thing. I don't know whether it's this circuit or whether it's kind of developing over the season, but a lot of drivers returning to pit lane after their first lap.
I think that must be the ideal thing to do here, because normally we would expect a GT3 car to get faster over the course of a short run, but evidently everybody thinks that it's better to go out for one strong lap and then try and go out for another strong lap. Corey Precker backs out, ends up in the pits. Somebody's in the background distracting him there. He's going to go back out onto the track. Hopefully he's not too distracted by the phantom legs in the background. He's currently P9 in class, so that's going to be very disappointing for him. He's usually much further up the order than that in qualifying, if I remember correctly. His teammate Clayton Ham's P5, and I'd expect the two YS Motorsports drivers to be a little bit closer at the end of the session.
And they do, of course, need points for that team's championship. They're trying to hold off teams being spearheaded by McLaughlin and Patrick, who they know they're going to lose points to, but they've got to try and beat both of their teammates, which is the problem as Caleb Learmont gets all out of shape over that chicane curb. Just back off slightly through this middle sector now and size himself up for one final lap in VR, of course. Say of course, like it's obvious, but there he is. He is in VR. Just hard to know whether it really makes a difference in terms of actual pace, but certainly in terms of realism, it is about as good as it gets. And interestingly, all the lights on, which is quite rare for someone in VR, but anyway, at least we can see him. Is that googly eyes he's got on the front as well, by the way? Has he stuck them on?
It is, and I think in the background, it's a little bit blurry, but I think that's a Lego Millennium Falcon box underneath the table, and he's got the Lego Space Station on that table as well. I don't care what Caleb Lehman's doing on track. I just want to watch his zoom here. I want to look at that Lego all night.
Waiting for Ted Lowendick's zoom as well. That's always an entertaining
He's
one.
not here tonight. He's watching the broadcast right now, live from his hotel at some company retreat or something. He's living the high life, the life of Ted Lowendick. He gets to watch broadcast instead of driving around the Hungaroring this week.
Oh wow, okay. Well, I'll have to park that excitement for 1 week further then. I'm afraid, but yeah, it's great to see these drivers, by the way, really taking to this the Zoom call and whatever, and getting your camera on the broadcast. It is good to see real people behind all the sim racing. As Caleb Lehrman, unfortunately, gets on that pesky outside curb at turn 4 and goes off. I have to say, I was a little bit surprised, with all due respect to all the drivers. I have to say, I was a little bit surprised we didn't see a little bit more of that in the fixed series. It's such an easy mistake to make.
It is an easy mistake to make, and in qualifying, that's when those mistakes tend to show themselves, and Caleb Lehman just finds the limit of the track there. Mitchell Ian Green very close to the limit of the track on the outside there, almost dipped a wheel into the grass, but this has been a fantastic run so far for Mr. Mitchell Ian Green. P4 right now. Again, I don't remember his best qualifying result of the season, but this has to be up there.
Been some real nice runs this season. He's in the top 5 now in the standings, kind of leading best of the rest if you take the top 4 out of it, and they are quite a distance away from the rest. He's just ahead of his teammate Mark McDonald, and I don't think he's had a top 5 yet this season. Oh, excuse me, he has had a couple of top 5s, but he's only stuck into 5th as Mitchell Ian Green. But I think you're right, this might be one of his better qualifying performances. It certainly is for Jonathan Wager as well, who's out-qualifying his teammate Andrew Waring in the first time I can remember for a good long time. Over half a second ahead of him as well right now. Of course, there is half a second to Guillaume Levesque right now as well. But everyone can push that to the back of their minds just for a second here. It really is a Guillaume Levesque day by the looks of things and his season at the moment. But Wager just trying to make his way onto the front row maybe with this final lap time here. Just a minute and a half to go. This will be his last lap time, and he does get into the 40s. The second driver to do so, and he gets onto the front row. We'll see now how Trepanier can respond.
I'd wager that he'll be pretty happy with that, but Vincent Trepanier, he only needs 1/10 here to beat that time. His teammate Guillaume Levesque, or at least his inter-ASR teammate Guillaume Levesque, has found a 140.6 in this car, or 140.57 if you want to be specific. It's tracking decently well for Vincent Trepanier. It looks like it's been a good lap, but in the final corner, this is where it all matters. Can he nail this? He's always a clean and tidy driver in qualifying. It looks great, but now we wait for the clock to tick down.
Up towards the line then for Trepanier, who goes over the line, and he gets a lot closer to Guillaume Levesque. Only 2 tenths away now. That was nearly half a second's worth of an improvement right at the very end, and right when he needed it as well. He gets onto the front row, and surely that will be enough. Dominic Olivier maybe a little bit further down than he was hoping for as well in this one. 6th place for now, but he doesn't need to do very much to overtake Arnaud Gineste in this one at the moment. Only 12 thousandths of a second will do it. I say only. He is going pretty fast right now anyway, so it is going to be a struggle. It's going to be a struggle to get to the line as well. I don't think he's going to do it. Only 5 seconds remaining. He's not going to get to the line here. Timer just elapses, and he does run out of time, unfortunately, for Dominic Olivier, so he'll have to stay in that 6th position, as we are about to see. But it's no prizes for guessing who's on pole for this one. Guillaume Levesque with his 5th of the season, and it's only the 8th race just yet. Vincent Trepanier in 2nd, with Jonathan Wager 3rd. Michelin Green with a nice performance for 4th. Jeanette and Olivier round out row 3. Andrew Waring might be disappointed with 7th. He's alongside fellow Andrew Hartman. Then it is the AM pole sitter, Nick McLaughlin there, putting a good few cars between himself and 2nd place in AM, with Devon Horvath just in behind. Then Alex Fournier, Kevin Norris, Gerald Williams and Ozzy Milwain all between McLaughlin and Michelango Fonseca in 2nd in AM. Then it's Clayton Ham, Ryan Patrick, Rob Campbell and Quacknin all together with regards to the AMP. Then Tommy Brisson rounds out the top 20. Laurent Christophe de Ruel rounds in 21st ahead of Corey Precker. Mark McDonald is 23rd ahead of David Bush. Then Caleb Lamb on 25th. Lance Loomis is next ahead of Mike-Andre Desjardins. Nick Horvath, Alexander Breton and Christopher Reams round out the top 30, and we're still going. Tyler Scarali is next ahead of Phil Amaro. David Morse is alongside James Doherty on the 17th row. Alex Wright and Diego Morales are next. Morales a long way down compared to where he might expect to be. Colin McKenzie, Luke Davis and Michael Broomhead, who's also quite far down for his talent, round out the 39 car grid. It's a huge grid, and normally we see grids getting a little bit smaller this time of year, this time of season. However, the Precision Racing League is maintaining nearly 40 here in the Sprint Series and comfortably over 30 in the Fixed Series as well. It's been a great success so far this season.
And a lot of those drivers you saw down at the bottom of the grid, they have a lot of work to do here. Some didn't qualify. I'm not sure if they'll all actually be on the grid. Looks like we're populating the final few rows of the grid now as the seconds tick down, but I'm not seeing Michael Broomhead on the back of the grid. I'm not seeing Luke Davis, Alex Wright, or Tyler Scarali for that matter. So there could be some pit lane starts within them, or there could be a few drivers who have just elected not to race after all tonight. But either way, one driver who is on the grid, Diego Morales, he was close to winning last week. He was on pole. He did win earlier this season at Spa. He has 35 cars to pass if he wants to win tonight.
He does. And of course, he's in that fight for 2nd in the championship as well, for what it's worth to him. And he'll lose out on big points with that today as well. He's going to be fun to watch throughout the day, as is everybody really. The top 8 cars, all Mercedes at the moment, and it's not expected to change here at the Hungaroring. The Precision Racing League GT3 Sprint Series set to get underway for 40 minutes of action, and Levesque waits a long time to get going. He's going to get swamped down towards turn 1. We've got a lot of cars all fanned out across the road, going down towards him at the moment. 3 and 4 wide down in the background, right round the outside for Olivier, I think that is, trying to make up places as Waiter goes way off the road. He was qualifying up towards the front, but he's been pushed back a little bit. Not as far pushed back though as Lance Loomis, quite possibly, who went around there. And there's a spin on the back straight as well. My goodness me, that is Olivier. He was wide through turn 1. He's got his engine blown. It was surely a big accident on the run down towards turn 2.
I don't know if that was related. That was Ozzy Milwane in the 114 that we saw spun around at turn 1, and then Dominic Olivier just spun in the middle of the pack there in a very dangerous part of the track to be spun around. I'm sure we will look at that replay when things calm down just a little bit here, but things are not calming down. Look at this insanity here. Craziness up front. The highest non-Mercedes right now is Nick McLaughlin, the AM driver, but we gotta pile up here, or almost a pile up. It's a big checkup at the very least. And some drivers, I think, are coming away with this with a little bit of front end damage, because there have been a vast range of braking distances in every one of these corners.
Yeah, I think everyone's got a bit of rear end damage as well from the car behind them. You would imagine, as the two teammates here already swapping places. Jonathan Wager had a terrible start, but Andrew Waring knows that his teammate is quicker and so lets him through immediately here, already on lap 1. It wasn't a good start for Wager, and I have a feeling he might have been involved with Dominic Olivier, if not at turn 1, where there was a lot of jostling for position going on, then certainly on that run down towards 2, where we saw Olivier facing the wrong way. Through the final corner now for some of those back in the pack, but the leader, Guillaume Lebesque, is out front at the moment, and he does have a very nice pace ahead of the rest. A very nice start for him, but not a nice start, I'm afraid, back in the pack for some. Olivier, the only driver, remarkably, to have to make a trip down pit lane.
That is pretty remarkable, because for him to get that much damage, there must have been contact with another driver, unless he just lost it and ended up hitting the wall. But it's a mystery. We'll see what happened. Here's an AM versus Pro battle. Lauren Christophe Deruel in the blue Mercedes there. Kwok Din in the bright yellow and blue and black, very funky colored BMW. Kwok Din's going to get by Lauren Christophe there, but it's still only P5 right now in class for Kwok Din. He's got a few more cars to pass to get up to the battle for 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. Ham, Campbell, and Fonseca, and then literally 5 seconds ahead of them. Nick McLaughlin's already pulled such a massive gap for the AM lead.
Now then, another thing that's worth noting, certainly, well, Kevin Norris, well, just dropped down a couple of places. Another thing that's worth noting is Brian Patrick, who's dropped down positions here. Didn't qualify great, but it's really not turned out well for Brian Patrick. He's down to 35th overall and 16th in the order right now, and because of the way his drop rounds are working right now, I don't think it's possible for him to finish lower than on that day. However, it doesn't really matter. There's no two ways about it. He is losing points at the moment if he does not gain places here over the course of this race, like Diego Morales has been doing actually in the mid-pack. He's 24th and just ahead of some of these camera shots. Somebody's gone around in the background. Oh, I'm not sure who it is. It's Mark McDonald. There it is. Dropping down, way down at this stage of the race. There's just no place where he can get going again.
No, we've just got a very large train that's just populating the entire track. When you get spun, it is so difficult to recover. Here is the battle for 2nd in AM. Ham, Campbell, and Miguel Angel Fonseca here. Separated just a little bit. We've got a little bit of breathing room for Clayton Ham. This is one of the few gaps there actually are on the track from Fonseca to Lauren Christophe Deruel. Calm down just a little bit. We've gotten the craziness out of the way. It's going to keep on coming. There's still 35 more minutes left in this race, but now is the time, I think, to settle into a rhythm if you're these guys up ahead. But if you're some of the drivers who have gotten into trouble early on, if you're Ryan Patrick, there's no settling into a rhythm. You've got a lot of work to do.
Nick McLaughlin there just letting Alex Fournier through to try and just keep his own head down here, try and keep away from the other AMs. He's got 4 pros in between himself and the next car as the championship leader, and he's putting big points into Patrick at the moment. Not sure what happened to the runner-up in the championship at the moment, though. I have to say I didn't see anything, and he wouldn't have been around Dominic Olivier, as McLaughlin also lets Andrew Hartman through. But yeah, I'm scratching my head a little bit. Maybe he was involved slightly with, we saw, who was it who went around at turn 1? Ozzy Milway. Was he involved here? That's right, Patrick on his. He was involved.
The pink Lamborghini that you saw go around, that was Patrick.
So on the outside, Milwane got tipped around. You just look at the inside on that shot, then you saw Brian Patrick go around. Now this is Olivier. That's Wager on the outside. What happens here to Olivier? Oh, he gets tipped around into the wall hard, and it's a miracle he wasn't collected.
That's fantastic by every other driver in the field to avoid that. Olivier just completely out of control there because he got turned into the wall. There were no brakes left in that car, I think. Alex Wright at the back of the field, and that was just a little bit of impatience, I think, from Alex Wright, or from Ozzie Milwain, rather, who got turned around, who was trying to move his way up the field, and he ends up turning Alex Wright. J.R. Williams as well, and Lance Loomis, did they get into trouble with each other? Lance Loomis in the Mercedes, he's currently 34th, so clearly something happened, and he actually tipped around. Lance Loomis in the BMW, rather, got tipped around by J.R. Williams in the Mercedes. And again, that's just disappointing on lap 1 for some of these drivers who had good runs going. It's ended in disaster this early.
Corey Precker's been in the wall at 4, and it's the classic mistake. Oh, does he pull it up in time? He's on the grass. Pull it up. Oh, no. Into the wall for Corey Precker. And the team's championship there for YS Motorsports. The Track Motorsports just takes a bit of a hit. Of course, they've got Clayton Ham in second at the moment, so that's going to just slightly improve the situation, but not too much. As what's happened here to Andrew Waring. He's just pulling off the road. Second place in the championship at the moment. This is big drama for Andrew Waring. What is happening to the Evolve SimSports Mercedes right now? He stopped on the side of the road and now goes back to the pit lane. If he doesn't get back at all, then he will score no points, and yeah, that's not good news because we've not gone 50% of the race just yet. Andrew Waring looks like a retirement, but not an obvious cause for it.
The way he pulled off, I can only imagine that maybe it was a technical issue, or maybe he just had an emergency he had to go take care of outside of iRacing. Either way, it was a very controlled retirement for Andrew Waring, and again, that's disappointing for him. He had a great run going, or at least he had the potential of a great run going. Now his teammate Jonathan Wager kind of picks up the helm for Evolve SimSports, and he's all over Arnaud Genet, and this is a battle that's become the battle for the podium now.
It has. Somewhat remarkably, guys falling by the wayside, left and right, just behind them, and they've ended up battling over a podium place, despite Wager's relatively poor start. You have to say, qualified in third, was outside the top 5 pretty fast, but back inside of it now. Has just lost the tail end of the 2 leaders now, very much getting away. 5 seconds is the gap to those guys after only 10 minutes of racing. It's Nick McLaughlin, 8th place overall right now, and of course first in the order. Where's Ryan Patrick got to? 29th. He's 13th now in the ARM standings, but I just wonder how much Nick McLaughlin really knows about Ryan Patrick's situation. Not only that, but how much does he want to know, and how much does he actually take on board, knowing that, you know, your championship leader is at the moment hemorrhaging points.
I don't think he's going to be thinking about that too much right now. I think right now he's just running his race. I don't even know if Nick McLaughlin's looking at his relative right now, because he's got such a gap to everybody else in his class that he doesn't really have to look in his mirrors. The only people he has to worry about are the pros who surround him. So as long as he's being nice with the pros, as long as he's looking in his mirrors, as long as he's not getting turned around, I don't even think he's thinking about the win right now. I think he's just completely in control. But as we've seen in these first couple laps, anything can change. Crazy things can happen. Crazy things have happened. So Nick can't get too ahead of himself right now. But as usual, he's found himself in a very, very good position.
We've had confirmation through, by the way, that there's no obvious cause at all for Andrew Waring's retirement. No contact with anything or anyone. Just pulls off to the side of the road, and that is it. He joins Dominic Olivier out of the race. Corey Preck is getting repairs and will try and complete 50%, I think, just to try and get those points on the board for 17th, which are going to be fairly numerous. You are going to get, what, 14 points for that? So he'll want those for the team. And Clayton Ham will want them as well. He's in 12th at the moment. You can just see him in the background of this shot with Rob Campbell just in behind, Miguel Angel Fonseca as well. By the way, if the time gaps look a little strange to you, by the way, at the moment, the time gap is showing you the leader, or the gap to the leader in their class, not the overall leader, as to what we had earlier. So in case you're wondering why Clayton Ham seems to be 3.5 seconds off the race lead when he's clearly not, that of course means 3.5 seconds off Nick McLaughlin, just to explain. But I think it's a real advantage for Nick McLaughlin that he's actually got those 3 pro cars in between himself and the rest, because not that he'll be doubting himself in terms of the pace, but it's just very nice to have that kind of safety buffer between you and your rivals.
it's very nice to have, and he seems to find it many weeks. It's either him or Ryan Patrick who's up here racing with the pros, racing in the top 10 and holding their own. So that's that kind of crossover between drivers. Some drivers who are not quite at the level of the pro, and some drivers who are pro who are not quite at the level of the other pros, and they just kind of equal out in this zone here around the middle of the field, and that's where Nick McLaughlin finds himself. And also just a quick update on the fuel strategy that we talked so much about in the pre-race. I think that's going completely out of the window. Nobody's saving fuel here. Nobody's running slow laps right now. Everybody is running 100%. Even our leaders, Guillaume Levesque, Vincent Trepanier, they're running 142s and 141s, which is just incredible pace right now. So no, we're not seeing a zero stop tonight. We're seeing a normal vanilla fuel strategy, but even that has proven to be pretty crazy so far this season. Guillaume Levesque, even when he's running at 100%, he's proven to be able to save miraculous amounts of fuel. Vincent Trepanier as well. All the ASR Esports Mercedes, I'm sure they're doing something. They're just going to have to do at least one stop.
Yeah, I think it was even more of a stretch than it would have been at Long Beach, or was at Long Beach, I should say, because there's no precedent for this circuit, really. I'm not entirely sure if you know this, Joey, but in terms of GT3, Hungaroring hasn't been out that long. I mean, there's only a limited amount of times that this circuit could have been used, actually, in GT3 competition, but then again, you could say the same for Long Beach, to be fair. There's not been too many precedents to that race either at this stage, because they're both relatively new circuits to iRacing, as we saw with Sandown as well last week, the first GT3 race there for PRL. So there's a whole new load of situations here this season. Hardman just looking down the inside of Fournier there, and this is what McLaughlin doesn't need, is two pro cars battling right in front of him, because that will lose him time. And they're battling just ahead as well for the podium place. Onu Genet and also Jonathan Wager side by side out of 2 and into 3. Oh, into the door there of Onu Genet, and he's lost out to Michelin Green by the looks of things. Into 4th for the Rust Racing Mercedes. Onu Genet will not be pleased about that.
It's hard to go side by side through that corner, and I'm sure Arnaud will be somewhat displeased by that move, but it is hard to go side by side through that corner. Jonathan Wager didn't leave the most room in the world, and Arnaud Genet on the outside just gets shoved off, and he loses 2 positions in 1. He's down to 5th right now, and Arnaud Genet is the chief road steward. He's the guy who looks at all the investigations, all the protests. He determines if you get a penalty or not, along with the other admins. I don't think he'll be too mad, though. I think he's the kind of guy who's going to get back in line here, get back aggressive, and he'll be back up there with Michelin Green and Jonathan Wager, I'm sure, and he'll be hoping he doesn't get forced off the road again.
He was actually really wide through turn 11 there and lost a few tenths of a second. Of course, Michelin Green just slipped on through, looking for yet another top 5 here this season. He's had only 1 so far. The other occasion, he finished 6th at Fuji, just missed out, but finally did get that 5th place at Spa. Now looking for another as we go on board with Ryan Patrick. This is the big story of the day. 2nd place in the ARM Championship coming into this race. Fell back on lap 1, getting tipped round into a spin, and now he's got an awful lot of work to do. 12th place as things stand. He's on his way back inside the top 10, but this is huge damage limitation for the 24.
And look who's right ahead of him, Ewan. You thought we weren't going to get to talk about this car change, but yes, we do. David Morse has switched from the Ferrari to the BMW. Unfortunately for him, though, he is going to get passed by a Lamborghini, but we at least got to mention his car change on the broadcast, and I think that's worth it. He's going to give Ryan Patrick the most room in the world. Just let him by. But look at that shiny new BMW. Look at that thing.
Yeah, I mean, you expressed a bit of surprise that he wasn't changing to the Mercedes. I think it's the only, well, other than Fred Galini, I suppose, in the 5th as well. But, I mean, the Mercedes, particularly in the Sprint Series, when you're allowed to tinker with the setup, it's proved so strong so far this season. It is almost a surprise to see anybody choosing anything other than that.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you the reason David Morris is elected to switch into this BMW. Maybe he just wanted to try something new. He knows he's not in contention for the championship, so might as well pick up a new car, see if you like it. And no harm, no foul there for the SRT Esports driver. He's going to fall back, and Patrick already, you can see that Lamborghini's already closing onto its next piece of prey. That's actually the Pro of Mark McDonald, who's also on a drive forward after getting spun around at turn 12.
Yeah, I mean, at least when you're in the BMW, you don't have to look at it. As Devin Horvath goes off the road, just outside the top 10 right now with Duruel getting through on him. There goes the Mercedes. It was at the penultimate corner, which is a strange place to go off for the reigning champion of this series, but it really hasn't been a great season for him. We'll try and get another look, but yeah, down to 15th now for Horvath, and here it is. Oh, might have even caught a bit of grass there, didn't quite see, but that didn't hit anything at least.
Didn't hit anything, just lost a ton of ground. Yep, he was on the grass there. You can see the right side tire just even over the gray part of the curb. And that doesn't quite work. Can't brake on the grass, or at least you usually can't brake on the grass, and that's a spin for Devin Horvath. And that actually opens up the top 10 in the race. The top 11, actually. 10 out of the top 11 are Mercedes right now. The only non-Mercedes is Nick McLaughlin in the Audi. So talk about Mercedes dominance. It's very clear right now.
And it's even more of a case around here than at other circuits. We've got some BOP data in terms of lap times earlier on today, showing that the Mercedes was indeed just that little bit, had a little bit of an edge over the other cars. But then again, obviously people have this argument all the time, but then again, I feel like especially in the GT3 Sprint Series, best drivers are driving Mercedes, so it's really hard to judge or accuse the Mercedes of being too strong, because, I mean, the best drivers are in it, so it's hard to peg it back when the best driver is driving it.
And that's exactly the point I was going to make. It's hard to get real data when, yeah, all the best drivers are in the Mercedes. Guillaume Levesque is in the Mercedes. All the drivers who would normally be in the top 10 in this series all also happen to be in the Mercedes. So it is just a little bit skewed that way, but it's still clearly the best car in the field. That's why they're all in it, and it's clearly got so many advantages. But one of those Mercedes is Jonathan Wager. He's in pit lane right now. We're not even halfway in the race, and this looks to be a scheduled stop.
It does. It's an early one. We're not even a half distance yet, but Wager deciding to come in. Let's see how long Diego Morales. Oh, it's a drive-through. There's no way he's reached his incident limit already. Surely not, but that was a drive-through penalty for Jonathan Wager. There's nothing else I can think of other than a drive-through penalty. Diego Morales also comes into the pit lane, but he is making a stop, and I totally get it from his point of view, because he was stuck in traffic.
Actually, now that I think about it, I can think of why Jonathan Wager would have a drive-through, because he likely got 4 incident points on lap 1 for everything that went down there. He got 4 more for that contact with Arnaud Genet, and that only leaves him 5 incident points of wiggle room. 5 off tracks, drive-through for Jonathan Wager. So that's disappointing for him, but that's entirely possible. And now he's got to be so careful for the next 21 minutes. Not only does he have to make another pit stop, he's also got to make sure he doesn't accrue 4 more incident points, because he'll get completely disqualified. And that gives you a big fat 0 in championship points.
Yeah, I can. He went off at turn 1 on lap 1 as well, by the way, before the contact with Olivier. So that's 9 that we've seen, 9 incident points that we've seen, and you're right, that leaves only 4 off tracks that we didn't see. And we've seen how easy it is to go off so far during this race. So yeah, not good news at all for Jonathan Wager. Well, Diego Morales has managed to get himself out of part of traffic, but then into some more. And speaking of traffic, Nick McLaughlin certainly is within that at the moment. Alex Fournier and Andrew Hartman fighting very hard at the moment over the final spot inside the top 5. A lot of ducking and diving, ducking and weaving down the inside for J.R. Williams, trying to make a little bit of a move on McLaughlin, but not able to do that. Very close between the two. This really is a traffic jam now, and it's all just slowing everybody down and allowing Levesque and Trepanier to just easily get away from the field.
That is just an incredible gap. I've been slowly watching it grow, but 12.5 seconds is the gap, and the race isn't even halfway over yet. Who knows? Who knows the extent of what that gap could be at the end of the race? Could we see a 30-second gap between second and third? Who knows? Crazier things have happened. But Nick McLaughlin, I thought he was going to back out and let J.R. Williams through there, but J.R., for that aggressive lunge to the inside, he wasn't anywhere close to too late. That's too late in the brakes. Caven Norris, or Alex Fournier, rather, gets turned around by Andrew Hardman. That was too late in the brakes.
Wow. And Fournier's done with it. Fournier's going to retire. Completely unhappy with Andrew Hardman there. Now, that did just look like a complete misjudgment, really, of things, but yeah, it was a big hit to the rear end for Fournier, and there was only one way he was going, unfortunately. So everybody gains a place. Everybody moves further towards the front. This is what happened. Fournier just going to get hit really hard there. I mean, Hartman judges it so wrongly that it almost looks intentional, but I think he did just miss his braking point by a mile.
And that's easy to do, especially at that corner. You're trying to get so aggressive. You're in this train, and it's just a mistake that can happen. It's a bad mistake. Hardman's going to be probably somewhat embarrassed about it. I'm sure he apologized to Alex Fournier over the radio. I don't know why Alex Fournier chose to completely park it there, because it was a heavy hit to the rear end, but I can't imagine the car was too destroyed, but he's elected to completely tow back to the pits, and that'll be Fournier's race done. That's another ASR Esports driver thinned from the herd, but the battles continue. The ASR Esports drivers continue to battle. Caven Norris now trying to pick up the pieces and join his teammates up there in first, second, and fourth.
There are a lot of them around, it's fair to say. ASR Esports very prominent in this sprint series in particular. And they were in this 4-car group as well, making it one triple layered sandwich as well, but not anymore, unfortunately. Kevin Nice just bringing up the rear though. JR Williams just in front, trying to make their way through. The AM leader before they can make their way to Andrew Hartman and maybe making that move. We're over half distance, by the way, in this race. Diego Morales' pit stop, I'm not sure if I mentioned this or not, but it got him out of some traffic into a little bit more, but different traffic instead, so he's still trying to overtake some cars. Down in 27th now, he's just got through on David Morse in the first portion of that, or the first part of the lap. But I think David Morse is actually off the road, that's why. He's dropped down quite a few places there. Behind Phil Amaro and James Doherty as well. So may well have been off the road somewhere, but either way, Diego Morales is gaining places. By the way, in terms of the championship, we've obviously spoken about the fact that Andrew Waring is out the race at this stage, and that does open the opportunity for Guillaume Levesque very much to try and win this title today. However, the fact that Vincent Trepanier there is only his second place, that means that it will at least go to 2 rounds to go. But it does mean Trepanier would overtake Waring, as Nick McLaughlin
There's
there.
damage on the back of that car. Did he get hit?
I think he got hit by JR Williams. It certainly sounded like it. And there's the damage. We'll have to get another look. And here it is. We'll see if there's contact here. Lap traffic may be involved here.
Oh, that was Corey Precker, I think. So no damage. That smoke was just kind of an optical illusion. I thought that was far worse than it was for Nick McLaughlin, but no, just a scary moment there with one of the lap cars of Corey Precker. He recovers, though. No real damage on that car. That was just an optical illusion, a combination of a little bit of smoke on the recovery and some of the polygons on the Audi and this interesting Lunatic Motorsports livery. But Nick McLaughlin's okay. False alarm. Everybody calm down.
No, I do think there is a slight bit of rear end damage, but it wasn't gotten there. It was gotten early on in the race, maybe at lap 1, because he would have been one of the first cars slowing for Olivier, possibly. He might have been rear-ended slightly on lap 1, but not entirely sure. It's not major damage anyway, it's not holding him back. Clayton Ham, Rob Campbell and Miguel Angel Fonseca, they've all been able to gain there, and now the 4 of them are all kind of fighting over 8th, if you like. If they were a bit closer, they would be anyway. That was a big dive from JR Williams, though. Or was it? Is that a lapped car, maybe, that JR Williams had to get through on? Not entirely sure.
Yeah, that's Precker again. How did Precker end up back here?
Again?
Didn't he? No, he held on to the position. That's why he's... After McLaughlin spun, now he's going to try and go for it again cleanly this time. And this time there's no trouble. McLaughlin gets by Precker, and Clayton Ham from second is actually down pit road right now. So pit stops are beginning legitimately as all this craziness is going down.
Yeah, he has actually stopped in his box, and someone's cutting in actually from a little bit further down. There is the pit lane. The Nick Horvath in the background there in the McLaren. He's getting to a stop and getting going. So yeah, proper pit stops are starting to happen. Meanwhile, we've been kind of writing off for the race for the lead, but with 15 minutes to go, the gap is less than a second between Guillaume Levesque and Vincent Trepanier. This is, well, still close and still up for grabs.
And these two are going to run into lap traffic before the end of this race. Lap traffic has generally been very nice. They always are in the Precision Racing League, but Guillaume Levesque, I'm sure, is having flashbacks to Spa when he had a dominant win taken away by a lapped car. And also, earlier we saw Nick McLaughlin, his lead's been taken down by a lapped car. And we will reach lap traffic. That's just guaranteed. With how fast these drivers have been, they're probably going to reach the likes of Lance Loomis, Nick Horvath, maybe even Alex Wright by the end of this race. Just another thing to think about, and it's another part of the track that Guillaume Levesque probably doesn't want to deal with.
Probably not, ideally. The gap to the last car on the lead lap now is Nick Horvath at 1 minute 38 behind him. And they're doing 141s, 42s if you like, high 41s, so not too far. Can't quite see the McLaren going through the bottom of the... Oh, maybe you did just catch a glimpse of it there, but we're not far away from traffic. This is very busy though. Down in the region of the likes of Rob Campbell, Miguel Angel Fonseca. We've also got Laurent Christophe Diruel and also Devon Horvath, all in this 4-car train with Corey Precker, I think that is, just up in front. He's really getting in amongst it here today, trying to gain what he can after that earlier incident. Colin McKenzie's been in the pit lane for 6 minutes now, and if he gets to the line here before McKenzie exits the pit lane, then Precker will finally gain a place and gain a point for all of his troubles.
Yeah, Colin McKenzie heavily damaged, unless he's trying to put a whole oil tanker of fuel into that car, but somehow I don't think he's doing that. He's hanging out, and I respect that. Colin McKenzie wants every point possible in this championship, and to get every point possible, you need to finish the race, even if you've spent 6 minutes in the pits and you're 4 laps down. It's better than getting 0 points, and I respect the hustle for Colin McKenzie. He's going to get back out on track, I hope.
Yeah, you need to complete 50% of the race these days to get points in the Precision Racing League. That goes to, I think it's every series this season actually. You have to get 50% of the way around. You used to be able to just turn up and get points, but now you have to do have to go half the way now. As I thought we were going to see a pit stop there from Rob Campbell, but in the end he ducked out, and Miguel Angel Fonseca was really able to gain there. Maybe there'll be a move for second in AM going down towards turn 1 here. The Audi very much tucked into behind the BMW. You can barely see it in that camera shot there. Looking maybe for this move, although I think the Mexican was very much lifting off down towards turn 1 there and just waited for his moment. A bit later, he's once again close out of turn 1, down towards turn 2. Looks outside line, interestingly, and once again lifts off. So he's very much in the camp of I'm going to have a shorter pit stop than you rather than overtake you on the road.
We've got to start thinking about that pit stop. 11 minutes left to go. This has actually been a longer stint than it was in the fixed race. So we actually are going longer on fuel, but I still don't think we're going to the end of the race. And Vincent Trepanier has actually lost 0.7 of a second to Guillaume Levesque over the past couple laps, so he needs to bring it down pit road as well, pit lane as well, to minimize that gap. This traffic here is helping out Clayton Ham, who came down pit lane earlier. It's a lot of interesting strategy stuff going on right now, but it's all got to sort itself out soon.
It is very wide from the Audi. Yeah, we saw Philippe Magnan go 1 lap further than everyone else, but most of the drivers in the fixed series went 25 minutes exactly. Now with a quarter of a tank again, that's not easy maths, but it's about 7 minutes, or maybe less, 6.25 minutes further, which is still just over half an hour. So you'll be able to do maybe 2 more laps here at most of the drivers, but we'll see how many of them actually do as Rob Campbell comes into pit lane. Once again, I was surprised by this in the fixed series, but I'm surprised by how many drivers are actually just trying to just drain the tank during the first part of this race and then pit all on the same lap rather than go for more strategy, as we've started to see over the weeks. A bit more strategy develop, but now we've gone back to just go as long as you can.
Problem is, with how spread out the field is, it seems to be almost impossible to get out of traffic. I'm going to look back. Clayton Ham, who pitted earlier, he's actually come out in a little bit of a clean window. He's got Diego Morales a few seconds ahead of him, but now we wait for Rob Campbell to come out, and we watch these battles in the back here. Alex Wright, Christopher Reins, they've both pitted as far as I know. No, Alex Wright has not, but he's got some damage, I believe, from an earlier incident. Christopher Reins has pitted. So this is essentially a battle for position right now, but it won't be a battle for position for much longer. Is Alex going to pull down pit road this time? Yes, he is. Ferrari's finally going to put some fuel in that car, and Christopher Reins is free to have a little bit more lonely of a race. He's got quite a gap ahead of him.
Well, Clayton Ham, interestingly, had 1.1 seconds of a quicker pit stop there than Rob Campbell, and he had the undercut, but he still lost a second and a half. So clearly, there is something to be said for staying out a bit longer and staying in that clean air, because, yeah, as you said earlier, you can't really find it outside of the top 10. As Guillaume Levesque and Vincent Trepanier have reached their limit and they both come in. We're still waiting, by the way, for 17 cars to come in. And I think most of them are going to have to on this pit stop here. And look at this now. Everybody's in. Nick McLaughlin, once again, is the only driver to be able to go one further than the rest.
Mitchell-Ian Green, I think, as well, has stayed out. So 2 drivers somehow managed to find an extra lap of fuel in the car when Levesque and Trepanier weren't able to. Levesque and Trepanier out of the pits now. Pretty equal stops, 8.7, 8.8, so no real difference here. The gap that Levesque was able to pull at the end of that stint, about 1.8 seconds, it's kind of stagnated now, and Vincent Trepanier, he's got to hope for a mistake from Guillaume Levesque, I think, if he wants to win this race. It's a similar story to the last one with Galini and Van Daly, and it doesn't appear like it's going to change. Maybe Trepanier is having the same problem that Danik was. Maybe he's at 11 or 12 incident points right now, and he's just backing off.
Possibly. It's a real circuit where you can get those penalties quite easily. I think Nick Horvath has just done that as well. Actually, he's gone for a trip down pit lane without stopping there. So he might have been the second driver to have a drive-through, to our knowledge anyway. There's Ryan Patrick. Wow. Hang on a second. Okay, he's not stopped. That's why. Okay, we can calm down there. Ryan Patrick is in third, but he's yet to stop. I mean, it's a good drive from him nevertheless, but we'll get a better idea of where he actually is when he comes in. I think he's still going to be around 10th in the AM category, which is not great when your rival's winning the race.
Yeah, he's still got quite a bit of work to do with pit delta being how long it is, about 28 seconds. I'd put him probably ahead of Marc-Andre Desjardins in 9th, so it's in the top 10. It could be far worse, but I think this is going to end up being Ryan Patrick's drop week. So he's going to hope that... Well, oh, actually, no, it might not be.
This is the problem. I was going to bring this up earlier, but stuff's been happening. So Ryan Patrick finished 20th, I think, at Fuji, or 19th or something. It was a bad day for him at Fuji. And that, at the moment, is his drop week, and this is going to be better. So this is the problem for Ryan Patrick. He doesn't quite have that safety net back to fall on that Nick McLaughlin does. His worst result so far was at Watkins Glen, and that was only a 5th place, so it wasn't exactly bad. So he's got more of a safety net to fall on, whereas Ryan Patrick actually can't afford a mistake or a day like he's having today.
Yeah, so Patrick's hope for the next 2 weeks is win, and yeah, win. There's 2 races to go. He needs 2 wins, and he needs to hope that at least one of those races, Nick McLaughlin runs into a little bit of trouble, because McLaughlin's been consistent. He hasn't arguably been the faster of the 2 over the past couple weeks, but he's back. He's winning. His rivals run into trouble this race. It's all going perfectly for Nick McLaughlin, and fortune needs to turn the other way if Ryan Patrick wants to win this championship.
Yeah, I mean, the problem he has is that the maximum he can gain on McLaughlin at the moment is 11 points. And that is just not many. Or it's not going to be many, or seem like many, when we get the new standings at the end of this, because I think it could be north of 20 points. Let's see where he's come out. He has come out in 9th, so you've predicted that bang on, annoyingly. No, I'm joking. 7 seconds of a pit stop. A little bit shorter, of course. He went a bit longer, but he's right on the back of Marc-Andre Desjardins. Jonathan Wager and Tyler Scurelli are also involved in that fight, as Guillaume Levesque is just negotiating a bit of lap traffic with 5.5 minutes to go, so 4 laps there. Still remaining, yep, 4 laps to go. And Ryan Patrick has got the opportunity to get through on, well, I think he's going to struggle to get through on any more than Marc-Andre Desjardins, so whichever way you look at it, he's dropping significant points today, more than 10. And does that mean it puts the championship out of reach? I think it means it puts it out of his hands, whereas you said McLaughlin has to make a mistake.
McLaughlin has to make a mistake, or he has to be taken out like Ryan Patrick was this week, so that's entirely possible that the misfortune for Patrick this week is spun around and it becomes misfortune for McLaughlin, but that's up for the racing gods to decide. They have to decide who gets spun out, who gets destroyed, and who doesn't. But Patrick, the recovery drive continues. The pink Lamborghini here, the two-tone, the white and pink Lamborghini. It looks like a rhubarb and custard Gummy from Tesco making the move here on Marc-Andre Desjardins.
It's a nice livery. I've got to say, it's one of the brighter ones. Useful as a commentator, there's no doubt about that. As Kevin Norris has come down pit lane for a drive-through penalty as well, I'm afraid, from inside the top 10 overall. That's just dropped him down. Ryan Patrick shows the nose down in towards turn 2. Not able to get through just yet, and this is losing him time. If he gets through quickly, he could catch Alexander Breton and Caleb Leomond, but they're just a couple of seconds. They just went through camera shot there. I mean, there's only 4 minutes to go. It's very difficult for him to gain anything else other than this. He's on the outside going towards 5 now. Maybe looking for this tighter line and a better run into the chicane. It would be a brave dive to go through there. And so he is not going to go for it at the moment. And he will stay behind. It's going to be so disappointing, though, for Patrick, knowing that there's not a lot he could have done at turn 1, really. We saw the incident, and, you know, it's hard to see what he could have done differently.
No, they were 4 wide, multiple rows deep into turn 1, and when there's that many cars, there's not much you can do. It's just kind of up to every single driver to survive somehow. And sometimes you just can't pick your survival. You can't pick the way you need to go. But here we go down into turn 13. This is a decent place to make a move, but Patrick's not going to be close enough. I think he's going to save this one for turn 1 again. He had a great run out of the final corner on the last lap. He actually almost outbraked himself into the back of Desjardins, but this is great. Desjardins wide, Desjardins deep. He's trying to build up a run onto the front straight, but doesn't matter. Ryan Patrick was far tighter. He's got a great run here. I think we're going to see a lunge.
I think we will. It's now or never, really, for Ryan Patrick, who once again sells the dummy, tries to go to the outside and then dives it at the inside decisively. Very late on the brakes, and he shows the back door to the Mercedes there. Desjardins not able to really get the run that he wanted, although he's still giving another go into turn 2. And Ryan Patrick once again firmly slams the door in his face and makes sure he won't be coming back through. As off the road in the background, who was that? Alexander Breton.
That's another position.
That's another position. Ryan Patrick has finally, in this day, had a bit of luck.
P7 now, and up ahead, it's about a 5-second gap now, I think, to Caleb Lehman. But Caleb's fighting with a pro and Jonathan Wager. If Jonathan gets a little bit over-aggressive, maybe gets into Caleb, there's another spot for Ryan Patrick. Maybe it's not such a bad day after all. But he's got 2 minutes to survive. Let's take a look at what happened to Alexandre Breton here, and he lost it completely on his own. No fault of Jonathan Wager's behind, just got loose down into turn 3. We've seen that happen so many times with these Mercedes, and you saw Ryan Patrick almost lose it as well in the grass.
Penultimate lap, and by the way, Kwok Nim went off on that last lap as well. I think he was challenging for 3rd. He wasn't in 3rd, but he was challenging for 3rd. Still in 4th at the moment, but just went off. I think it might have been another spin. Somewhere around the lap, but he's still going and doesn't seem to have damage after that one. We'll bring it home in 4th place by the looks of things. Arnaud Genet under a little bit of pressure here from 4th. Got Nick McLaughlin right behind with Andrew Hartman, J.L. Williams, hang on a second, hold the phone. Diego Morales, how has this happened? He's in 8th place all of a sudden, and he started at 38th. This is a remarkable drive from the 23. Wow, I mean, we've barely seen him all day, but he's been making moves off camera, clearly, and he's not going to quite get the top 5 he's been looking for, but this is an astonishing drive.
He came in early, and I think that was a masterclass because he got out of traffic, he got out of these massive trains, and he's pulled off the undercut of the century with some great pace as well, and he might have a top 6 on the table, a top 5 in pro, in class, if he can get by Williams and Hardman here. He's kind of running out of time. There's only going to be one more lap at the line, but this has been a fantastic drive for Diego Morales. This might be one of the drives of the season.
He is going to save what is left of his championship challenge as well, and might even move up to 3rd with this result. As down the inside goes Nick McLaughlin into 4th overall as the AM leader. It's been a great drive from the Audi so far, but this does set up Diego Morales now to maybe have a charge for the top 5 in the final lap here. It's, as you said, going to be very challenging for him to do this top 5 in pro, we're talking here, of course. Maybe even overall as well if things really go his way, but he might just sit back and just kind of consolidate what he has as Clayton Ham from 2nd drive-through. Surely it's got to be. or under-fueled, not sure.
Definitely a drive-through, and that's great for Ryan Patrick, I think. I don't know if this is going to take enough time for Clayton Ham.
Oh, he's not going to get him.
No, not quite.
No, not close enough. Ryan Patrick and Mark McDonald has to come in as well. He's reached the incident limit too on this final lap. It's become a real problem here at the Hungaroring. Of course, these guys, despite going 5 minutes longer than the fixed series, they don't get any more incident points to play with. It's 13 here as well, and we have seen a few more as a result. We saw Jonathan Wager in immediately, pretty much. Well, before the first half of the race was finished, and he had a long stop as well, so he's dropped to 17th, I'm afraid to say, in this race. But further up the order, it's Guillaume Levesque. Another dominant display from the championship leader, a 6th win of the season, and surely well on his way to a title. He goes over the line just a 2.5 seconds ahead of Vincent Trepanier. The fight will live on, but Guillaume Levesque is a race winner again. 6th of the season. Trepanier 2nd, Ian Green will be 3rd, and then Nick McLaughlin looks like he's going to get 4th as the AM winner, just in behind. Everybody kind of consolidating what they've got really at the end of a long, hard race. But you've got to take your hat off, despite the, maybe some would say that despite the look that maybe he's had a little bit in this race today, he still finished 4th overall as an AM driver, and that's very impressive indeed, despite what's happened to Ryan Patrick.
And remember, he almost got taken out by a lapped car. Nick McLaughlin almost spun off the side of Corey Precker at turn 1, and he still managed to hang on to win this race in class, a dominant gap, 6 seconds over Miguel Angel Fonseca. Nick McLaughlin's pretty good at the Hungaroring, apparently, and he almost got a podium overall as an AM driver. You can call it luck, but he also out-qualified Ryan Patrick by about 6 positions.
Well, hang on. Something's happened here to Ryan Patrick on the final lap, and he's DNF'd for some reason.
Hope it's not a drive-through.
I don't know. He's dropped down to 12th. He hasn't completed the final lap of this race. And this might be what... He's run out of fuel. Oh, Ryan Patrick's run out of fuel. His pit stop was only 7 seconds, whereas most others around him managed to do 9 seconds in the box and were a lot better off for it. So Ryan Patrick pulled off to the side of the road, and while it doesn't seem like a lot, those 5 points could prove to be very costly indeed. That will set the championship margin north of 20 points before the second last race, and it does give Ryan Patrick an awful lot to do heading into the final 2 races. But Guillaume Levesque has already done his work this season. He's not quite closed out the championship today. However, he has put more margin between himself and the rest. Nearly 50 points is the gap now between himself and Trepanier, who will be 2nd. Morales will move up to 3rd, despite starting nearly last, as we're seeing with these results here. The best victorious ahead of Trepanier and Michelin Green. Nick McLaughlin, AM winner, in 4th. Onu Janet running out the top 5 with Andrew Hartman, Joe Williams and Diego Morales coming across the line, in their line. Miguel Angel Fonseca and Rob Campbell round out the top 10. Then further on down, it was who was it? Laurent Christophe Duruel ahead of Tommy Brisson. Then Kwok Nin and David Bush. Ozzy Mulwayne 15th ahead of Clayton Ham with that last lap drive-through. Jonathan Wager recovered to 17th ahead of Tyler Scarali. Marc-Andre Desjardins and Alexandre Breton round out the top 20. Then Caleb Leamon ahead of Lance Loomis. Mark McDonald and Christopher Reins. Phil Amaro was 25th ahead of David Morse. Ryan Patrick didn't get to the line, neither did Kevin Norris by the looks of it. Then 27th and 28th. James Doherty 1 lap down with Nick Horvath as well. Then also a lap down, Alex Wright, Devon Horvath. Corey Precker a few laps down, but he did get points. Alex Fournier will miss out. So will Colin McKenzie, Andrew Waring and Dominic Olivier in that race. Well, that's it in terms of the racing, and we're now joined by race winner Guillaume Levesque. Guillaume, good to have you here once again. 6th win of the season. You were run pretty close there. 1.5 seconds was the gap, but did you always believe, I suppose, that you were going to win that race, or was it a little bit more nerve-wracking than it seemed?
I knew it was all about quali, so I put a lot of time in the pre-race practice into quali time. And then I knew in the races that I did earlier this week that dirty air is really bad here. so I knew Vince wouldn't have any chance apart than if I do a mistake. So yeah, I was pretty happy just running the race, not doing any mistake, and just take care of the tires, and then I knew I was okay with that.
Absolutely, another victory, it set you up beautifully for the championship, which is not quite set up. I feel like we ask you this every week, but you must be very confident now in the final couple of races. Suzuka and Nürburgring, how is the feeling going into the final end of this season?
For me, Suzuka is a really good track, so I'm pretty confident with that. And just Nürburgring is a little bit less than a good track for me, so I will have to do a little bit of work there. But yeah, if I have another good results, I think it will be almost set and done. But you know, you always want every win you can have, so yeah, I will try it. So.
Absolutely, we look forward to seeing you again over the next couple of weeks, Guillaume, but for now we'll let you go and enjoy the win. Congratulations.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks very much. Guillaume Levesque, winner in the Pro category. We've now brought the winner of the AMS in, Joey. Nick McLaughlin joining us now. Well, Nick,
kind of misfortunate for your championship rival. He had a harder day than you did, but you had some tough moments as well. I'm sure you were scared when I think it was Corey Precker in turn one almost killed you.
Yeah, yeah. It was a kind of a gnarly race right from the get-go. That first lap, man, I was white-knuckled the whole way around. Yeah, the Precker bit, I thought he'd kind of let me through, given the blue flag, and kind of nope, a little bit of door banging just to spice things up, but I'm happy with that finish. Holy.
Just a little bit of spice, but were you ever worried over the course of these 40 minutes? It seemed like you were completely in control over the course of the whole thing.
After the start of the race, I know there was a big kerfuffle behind us. Unfortunate for Ryan, he got caught up in it, and it's definitely a big impact on the championship. I focus on trying to stay clean and just get to the end. I had a couple slides that were really pucker moments, but managed to hold it together and even snagged a spot off Arnaud in the last couple laps there. So it was a lot of fun.
We got Suzuka next week, and we got the Nürburgring. They might be the other way around. I don't know, but which one of those are you looking forward to the most?
I really enjoy Suzuka. Well, I did really well there the last time I ran it in GT3s, and I did very well there in the F3s as well. So I'm hoping the Audi sticks with it, and I continue my good fortune at Suzuka.
All right. Well, we wish you good luck next week, and we also hope it's a tight championship battle. So we wish you luck. We wish Ryan Patrick luck as well.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, guys.
P1, Nick McLaughlin in AM, and we got P2 in AM as well. Miguel Angel Fonseca, P2. Seemed like it was pretty crazy from your perspective, though.
Yeah, it was kind of a crazy first lap. I got stuck behind P2 and P3. So from there, I was just trying to save fuel and not get a lot of false starts.
I think we've called up Darth Miguel somehow here. So let's think about the championship here. You, I think, are fighting for third in the championship if I'm factoring everything in correctly. Looks like McLaughlin and Patrick have kind of streaked away in first and second, but you think third in the championship's possible?
Yeah, sorry, I had
there we go. There's the real Miguel.
Yeah, I had a voice mod. Sorry. Yeah, I think it's possible. I'm not too far away, and we had a couple of good races coming up. So yeah, I'm positive about it.
You should put that voice filter back on. Maybe it's good luck.
Maybe this one.
Oh my God. This is audio visual prop comedy. This is the best interview of all time. All right, well, congrats on your second place tonight, and thank you for amusing us here. This is way better than a normal interview.
Thank you, guys.
P2 for Miguel Angel Fonseca, and some good gags as well. Next up, Mitchell Ian Green in Pro podium with Ewan.
Absolutely, Mitchell. Good to have you here as well on the podium. Finally, it's been a long time coming for you, but just how is it for you now to finally get on the podium here in a season where you've been so consistent, but now you finally got that great result? How is it?
Yeah, it was my target for this season. It's my first full season in GT cars, so my target was to get a podium, and it's not easy on this competitive grid, so feeling blessed today.
Absolutely, it was a very competitive start, I've got to say, if that's the word we want to use. What was the start like from your perspective? It was pretty chaotic, but what was your view of everything, all of the madness?
Yeah, I mean, I felt I qualified out of position. You know, I knew there was a lot of fast guys behind me. I know the benefit of keeping the tires cool here, so it was this balance of trying to be fast on cold tires while also not trying to overheat them, and I kind of failed at that when I almost had a spin, but fortunately I bounced back.
Absolutely. It's great to see you on the podium here, Mitchell, and hopefully we'll be seeing you again in the final couple of races, having been on the podium again. But for now, go and enjoy the P3, and we'll see you again very soon.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks very much. Mitchell Ian Green, third place here today at the Hungaroring, and just behind him was Anu Jeanette as well. Let's bring him in from fourth. Anu, good to have you here too. Fourth place in Pro, fifth place overall. You were a bit of the cork in the bottle, if you don't mind me saying, throughout the final portion of that race. Just how was the final 10 minutes or so when you were holding everybody back?
The race was pretty awful. I mean, I think the qualifying here is so important, so I think I got it right, but I knew I didn't have like the race pace. But I was hoping that my pace was sufficient to keep guys behind, and since it's so hard to pass here, I think it would be enough, but it wasn't. I had a great jump, but earlier on with Wager, good battles, I would think, but collected those twice 4 X's, 4 incident points right there, so I had to take it quite easily. And I think after lap 6 or so, I had 12, so just on the brink of getting that drive through. So I had to lift a little bit, and that's why I didn't fight much Nick there at the end or penultimate lap, I think, since I just wanted to bring the car home and not to collect that drive-through penalty, especially on the last lap. That would have been terrible for my race. So yeah, pretty happy about the result. But yeah, it was a sweaty one.
Yeah, it was a very difficult race for everybody. I think you've done very well in it though, to get 4th place in Pro, 5th place overall as well. Arno, congratulations on that, and we'll let you go now. See you again in the next couple of weeks.
All right, see you guys. Have a nice one.
Thanks very much. Arno Jeanette, 5th place overall, 4th place in Pro. One more interview. Joey, you're with Kwok Nin now from 4th in AM.
Kwok Nin, you've survived the craziness once more. It's P4 for the number 886 BMW. How are you feeling about a 4th place tonight?
It's not on the podium in the AM class, but I feel pretty good about it since in the championship I'm not too far behind. It puts me pretty much ahead of Clayton, and it looks like I'll be very close to Ryan Patrick fighting for P2 in the championship.
So is that what you're aiming for here with 2 rounds to go? Are you aiming for that 2nd spot with Ryan?
I'm trying to aim for the podium, at least the top 3. Nick Laughlin, he's pretty fast, man. So I don't think I'm gonna be able to. With 2 races 2 rounds left, I don't think I'm gonna be able to get close to P1.
How do you think this BMW compares? I realize I haven't asked you this season. You're in a BMW, Ryan Patrick's in a Lamborghini, Nick McLaughlin's in an Audi, and Clayton Ham behind you's in a Mercedes. So there's great diversity in the AM class, but what's the BMW doing for you?
I've been racing with the BMW for almost half a year now. I really like it. It's fast on the straights when you want it to be. If you know how to handle it, it can take the corners very well and have a very good exit speed. As long as you're not heavy on the throttle or or you just gotta be smooth with the turning and the accelerator.
Well, congrats on bringing it home tonight. I'm sure you wish for more, but P4, solid result, and we wish you luck in your championship charge for wherever that may be.
Thank you. Thanks for broadcasting. We'll see you next time.
See Kwoknin next time indeed, and that's going to round out the interviews here. Ewan, Kwoknin, P4, a lot of drivers, always happy to talk to all of them, and we got 2 more weeks to go.
We have indeed 2 weeks remaining here in the Precision Racing League GT3 Series, fixed and open, with Suzuka coming up next, August the 16th, just 1 week's time. Same time, same place as always here on RaceSpotTV. It'll be a delight to have your company once again for that race. But here tonight, it's been a story of what we've seen much of this season so far. Nick McLaughlin's 15th GT3 win in Precision Racing League history, Guillaume Levesque's 6th, but a very important one as well. Both of them take big steps forward to the GT3 Sprint Series titles, with Danik Van Daly also doing the same in the GT3 Fixed Series. Come back next time to find out whether they can wrap it up a week early down at Suzuka, but until then, unless we see you for another Precision Racing League broadcast this week, or indeed the GT3s in 1 week's time, from me, Ewan O'Leary, Joey Tebben alongside me, and Hugo Louise behind the cameras, it's goodbye for now.